Hello everyone, welcome to the 11th anniversary video. By now you've seen the video length and I'm sorry, not only to you but to myself. I'm just going to briefly explain what's going on. I'm going to review every single game that I've ever played that I can remember and rate them out of 10. The explanations of the ratings are on the screen right now, just so you know what's going on, how I kind of judge my games. All these ratings are based on personal enjoyment. There can be good games that are low on my rating just because I didn't like them. And you got to see a few of those. And I've also put down the completion status of the games that I played, just so you kind of know how far into the game I got or didn't get. And just one more thing before we get started. I've just got a couple of people to thank. First off is mobygames.com. mobygames.com is a website that meticulously catalogs information about video games, and that includes game art and cover work, which they have graciously allowed me to use in this video. And the second person to thank is you. Thank you guys for watching for all these years and indulging me when I decide to do something stupid and insane like this. And genuinely, your support means the world to me. All the games have been sorted by which console I played them on first. I've got some cool royalty-free tunes in the background, so just sit and enjoy. Put this on the background, watch half of it. I don't give a shit. I hope you enjoy. You probably won't. I definitely didn't making this thing. And we are actually just going to jump straight into this. Starting off with an Xbox. I didn't actually have an original Xbox, but some family did. And so I played it whenever I was around at their place. So to start off, we have Halo 1, which is a first-person shooter, and I gave this a 7. It's a solid FPS, but it hasn't really aged that well. It was brilliant for its time, though. Halo 2, I gave this one an 8. It just improves on the previous title in almost every way, and it's kind of amazing how good this game is, seeing as it's kind of held together by, like, duct tape and PVA glue. Fusion Frenzy, which is, if you don't know, is a party game for Xbox. I think this is like one of those free games that was given away in like cereal packets. If you don't know what Fusion Frenzy is, it's basically just Mario Party for Xbox. And it's pretty good. Next up we have the one game from the Xbox One that I played, and that was Halo 5. And I gave this a 2. It just isn't Halo. And that's plain and simple of it. Alright, we have made it to the Xbox 360. That wasn't hard. First up we have Grand Theft Auto 5. And I've branded this as an action, but it's a third-person shooter. I gave this a 9. This game is almost perfect. It is so good. And the thing that just holds it back from a perfect score is that the pacing of the story just isn't quite there, and it just needs a little bit more depth to the characters. And that would give it a 10. And we have our first 10 of the day. Look, this game just rules. Like, this is the best Halo ever got. Everything from the multiplayer matchmaking, from the story to the gameplay, it's just perfect, and I can't fault it for anything, really. Halo 4, on the other hand, is a 5. I really don't like it that much. It has a pretty good story, but it just suffers from a lot of design flaws all the time, like, you know, quick time events in Halo, and the gameplay just feels off. Halo Reach I gave a 9. It's really hard. It has a predictable but very, very good story. Castle Crashers, action adventure. I gave this a 9. Great stylized scrolling fighter, and just an all-around really fun co-op game to play. Super Meat Boy. I gave this one a 9. Absolutely fantastic game, and the only game that has ever made me throw my controller out of rage. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, the 2011 remake. I put this down as an arcade racer and gave it an 8. This is actually a really fun game that it's very underrated, honestly. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I gave this an 8. Everybody played this game back in the day. I don't think I could say anything that anyone hasn't already said before. Fear 2, Project Origin. First-person shooter. This is just a really solid first-person shooter. It doesn't do anything too special except for its really, really messed up ending. Dead Rising 2, this is just a hilarious game. I love it. Battlefield Bad Company 2, solid FPS. I gave it a 7.
Yep, there's a jump. Go.
I need to get on top, hold on.
okay. No, you stupid bastard!
No, go back! Go back!
Land that shit.
Oh my god.
Ah, shit. Oh, shit!
The campaign's nothing special, but the multiplayer is a lot of fun. Oh shit, I'm gonna get hate for this one. Oblivion. I gave this a 3, and you'll find out later on that I really don't like the Elder Scrolls games. Don't ask me why I keep buying them and playing them. I don't know. I just think that the next one I'll like, but they never end up getting any better. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I don't know how this one came up before Modern Warfare 2. Anyway, you know, solid campaign. The multiplayer isn't as good as Modern Warfare 2. Crash Bandicoot, Mind Over Mutant. I gave this a 3, I dropped this shit. They made a terrible Crash spin-off, and this is a sequel to it. This was at the time that everyone wanted a new Crash platformer, and we got the sequel to Crash of the Titans. Assassin's Creed. I gave this a 3. The first Assassin's Creed is just flat out not good, but it did give birth to Assassin's Creed 2, which is pretty good. I never ended up finishing this game, but I did like what I played. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, on the other hand, I did finish. I gave this an 8. I really loved the story in this one, and it was enough to keep me going through, and hiring assassins to do your bidding and help you out was a very fun twist on the gameplay formula. Assassin's Creed Revelations is a game that gets bogged down in its story, and it kind of kills the rest of the game. Bad Company 1. This list isn't in a bit of a fucking state. I gave it a 4. It's not quite there, but Bad Company 2 obviously improves on everything. This is just what had to come before it for everyone, for the devs to learn their lessons. Borderlands, the pre-sequel. I gave this a 6. It's pretty stock standard Borderlands. The story is not much in this one, but the gameplay's okay. The humor in this one is really good and is a lot less hit or miss than other Borderlands games, and maybe that's because it was made by an Australian dev team, and my humor probably more aligns with them. Bulletstorm. I gave this a 5. It's got a cool gimmick to it, but the rest of the game is eh. Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2. This was a fighting game on the 360. It was alright. It's very much a spiritual successor to like Budokai 2 or 3, sorry. Dynasty Warriors 6 action. There's not much to say about Dynasty Warriors games. They're all pretty much all the same. That's why I gave Dynasty Warriors 7 a 7 as well. Listen, they're just mindless action games, but I love them. Guitar Hero 3, Legends of Rock. Everyone knows Guitar Hero. I gave it a 7, but I gave Guitar Hero 5 an 8, and the only reason for that is I liked the music in this one better, and that's why anyone likes any Guitar Hero title better than other ones. Gears of War is a 5, similar to Bulletstorm. It's got a cool gimmick to it, but it doesn't. This game very much feels like a budget title, and the gameplay does not carry it, the story of the entire game. Gears of War 2 though, the story gets amped up, and the action set pieces also get amped up. Fantastic game. Gears of War 3 brings it all to a pretty fantastic conclusion. And this is probably where the story gets the best, although the action set pieces kind of wind down a little bit. But the story, whoa man, the story in this game is so good. Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Stealth and action, it's a pretty good game. I gave it a 7. There's a lot of weird shit in this game, and the biggest weird thing is that when you finish, well, not finish the game, it kind of teases you that there's a whole second half of the game that really just kind of doesn't exist. The story of this game just disappears on you, and then it's over. MX vs ATV, Alive. This is a 4. This game isn't great. There's a gimmick in this game that isn't in the other MX vs ATV games, and it kind of brings everything down. MX vs ATV at Untamed is slightly better. It's nowhere near as good as the PlayStation 2 MX vs ATV game, which I'm sure we'll get to later. We have Peggle, which is a puzzle game. Everyone's played Peggle. Peggle's awesome. Gave it an 8. Absolutely iconic music. Next up we have Rascals, which is a platformer. I gave this a 6. This is a game me and my friends would play whenever we had like a LAN. It was just a weird little platformer game where I remember the skeletons and I remember the magic and I remember us having fun with it, but it was nothing special. Trials HD. Trials, the classic motorbike flip fucking motorbike physics game. Gave it an 8. I really like Trials games. Battlefield 1943, which if anyone remembers was that free arcade Xbox game version of Battlefield. It was a bit more cartoony, I think. A very stripped down version of Battlefield. I really liked it. Next up we have Homefront, which is a first-person shooter. This game had a lot of hype coming into it, mostly because the story was like amped up to be like a America has invaded resistance kind of game. It just doesn't deliver on everything that it kind of promised. It's just a very kind of milquetoast FPS. Ooh, we've got our first one, and that is Bomberman Act Zero. Fuck this game. This fucking game so shit. This game came out at a time when everyone was doing gritty remakes of video games, and this one was the worst. It just took everything that was Bomberman and just made it worse, which, like, Bomberman. How do you fuck that up? LA Noire, solid mystery, kind of third-person shooter, detective game, I don't know. This game is a mishmash of everything. I just remember the game coming on like 3 or 4 discs on the Xbox. It was kind of wild. Uno! I don't think I need to say anything about this. Everyone got this one for free on Xbox. Aliens vs Predator. I only played the multiplayer in this game. I'm not even sure if there was a single player. There might have been. There was like an infection type game mode on there where like there was like 14 Marines and 2 aliens, and eventually it would just like build up to like it was a standard infection game mode, but it was like so much fun in this game. Doritos Crash Course. I gave this a 5. This was like another one of those weird free games on the Xbox Live Arcade. Basically Fall Guys, but 10 years ago. Maybe even 15 years ago. It was a while ago. Lost Planet 2. I gave this one a 6. This is basically that big boss game that you probably heard about. There's always these huge bosses, and that was a lot of fun. It just doesn't really like capitalize on its gimmick. Marble Blast Ultra, another weird Xbox arcade game. You just play as a marble and you roll around like platforms. It's pretty stock standard, but it's a lot more fun than it has any right to being. Prototype, a really awesome open world game and just a hell of a lot of fun, but it doesn't do anything too special. Full House Poker. This is an old Xbox 360 arcade game where you just play poker with other players and you just use those old Xbox 360 avatars. Doing tournaments in this game was a lot of fun. Moving on to the PlayStation 4. First up we have Crash Bandicoot 4. It's About Time. I gave this an 8, mainly because this game has an obnoxious 100% requirement. That being said, the game is really fucking good, but yeah, the 100% requirement requires you to just put in ridiculous amounts of work. You'd have to play the same level maybe like 6 or 7 times, and that's if you figure everything out. Maybe with the walkthrough you'd be doing it better, but like, if you're using a walkthrough, then what's the point? Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy. This is the remake of the original Crash trilogy. This game is a 10 out of 10. It's just a perfect recreation, and it just helps bring these old PS1 games back to life and helps bring it up to modern game design a little bit. They're just perfect. Yakuza 6, Song of Life. I gave this an 8. This was my first Yakuza game, and it was like the last one in a story arc. I really like it. It got me into the Yakuza franchise, and now can't stop playing these games. Death Stranding. I gave this an 8. Death Stranding is a pretty bold attempt at a kind of a new game genre. Basically walking sim with a bunch of like weird mechanics to it. A really convoluted story, typical Kojima shit. Overwatch, I gave this a 5. I never got into the hype of Overwatch, and it's been pretty fun to watch the ship burn down at the moment. The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, gave this a 7. It's a pretty solid RPG. I can never get really fully into it, but I really like what I played, and there's just a couple of down periods throughout the game that kind of just killed it for me. Borderlands 3, I gave this a 5. Despite it being the best playing Borderlands, like, this game plays so good, but the story is just so awful that it brings everything down. Crash Team Racing, the Nitro Fueled remake. Just a good remake of Crash Team Racing. There's not much else to say about this one. Final Fantasy 15, I always get sidetracked playing this game. I really want to play more, but I just never really get the chance. Every time I kind of start getting into it, something else comes up, and there's not enough to bring me back. Persona 5. Gave this a 7. Persona 5 has just got the vibes, man. The vibes are the best. I love the music, the characters are really great, but Persona 5 Royal improves on it in pretty much every way. I love this game. This game kind of improves on Persona 5 in pretty much every way. Thing I don't like is that the party members take a long time to come into the game, and some of the times it's just like, especially with Kasumi, the new character, just kind of like, she comes in at the end of the game and it's like, why bother? Red Dead 2, fantastic game. I'd call the story a masterpiece, but the gameplay surrounding it just doesn't really merge into the story as good. And the story also has some really bad pacing issues. Just storylines just kind of get picked up and dropped at random moments, only to come back later. And by that time you're kind of like forgotten, or you're kind of tuned out to that particular storyline. It's really weird. I just wish you could move through the story at your own pace, like especially side content kind of things. Red Dead Redemption 1, just an absolutely fantastic surprise of a game, honestly. Wasn't expecting this game to be as good as it was. Uncharted 4, I dropped this game. I've played the other Uncharted games. This game, it just feels like it was taking the controller away from me just way too many times. No thank you. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, a 7. Really solid FPS game. The story just kind of gets a bit too wacky and the game's a bit too short. Journey, I gave a 9. Just a masterpiece of visual style. Bleach Soul Resurrection. This is a weird little action game. I wasn't expecting much and it didn't deliver that much, to be honest, but it's solid. Little Big Planet. What is there to say about Little Big Planet? It definitely nailed the user content generation game. And same with number 2, which kind of just expanded on it. The Last of Us. Oh, man, The Last of Us. This game is a 2. I do not like the gameplay in this game. I hate it. There's just a dissonance between the story and the gameplay in the game. It doesn't gel with me. That being said, I absolutely love the TV show because it means I don't have to play the game. The TV show is like a 9, but the game is a 2. I just cannot stand the game. Tekken Tag Tournament 2. This is a 7. This game is a fucking absolute banger. This is our friend's go-to party game. Uncharted 2, I gave a 7. Honestly, the fucking train sequence in this game is just enough to give it a 7. I never finished this game, but I feel like I got everything I wanted out of it. Moving on to PlayStation 2. I feel like I played a lot more games in this category than it says it does, but I just cannot remember them all. But these are the ones I did remember. First up, Mashed, Fully Reloaded. It's a party game similar to like Micro Machines. Go-to family party game, pretty much. Worms Ultimate Mayhem, or Worms 4. It's one of those 3D Worms games. My childhood best friend and I played this game a lot. A lot of fun. Crash Bandicoot, The Wrath of Cortex. This game isn't great. And as a Crash game, it's okay. There's just a lot of really bad design choices in here. It's kind of just feels like super rushed. The bosses are kind of cool though. Crash Nitro Kart, just a kind of a mediocre Crash Bandicoot kart racer. Crash of the Titans. I talked about the sequel earlier on. I gave this a 5. It's an interesting experiment. And that's all it is, an interesting experiment. Crash Tag Team Racing, honestly, a semi-decent kart racer. It's broken as hell, like the balance in this game is broken, but at least it has some Crash platforming in it, and a little bit of an open world design that keeps it kind of fresh. Crash Twinsanity, this is my favourite Crash game of the PS2 era, and one of my favourite games of the PS2 era, to be honest. It's a kind of a sleeper hit, really. But the thing that brings it down is it is super, super buggy, and there's a lot of content cut out of it. I'd like to see what I think of it now. I haven't played this game in like 10 years, but I really loved this game back in the day. Dynasty Warriors 5, I gave this a 4? Oh right, I remember now. This is the game that has really bad weather effects, and there's a couple of maps or something where it's snowing or there's fire or something, and like you can't see like in front of you at all. It's kind of crap. Dynasty Warriors 4, It's okay. Bomberman Hardball. Basically just Bomberman, but it has some weird sports minigames in it. It's a 7. It's pretty good. Road Trip Adventure. Ooh, this game brings back memories. This is a 9. This game's racing physics are really bad, but like the game, but it's also got this like open world and like just kind of character and world that I absolutely love spending time in. I'd like to also revisit this one and see how I feel about it now. Spy vs. Spy, another one of those local party games that me and my friends would play a lot of. I gave it a 7. It's pretty decent. Pac-Man World 2, you wouldn't believe that Pac-Man World 2 is one of the best platformers of the PS2 era, but it is. I'm really hoping for a remake of this one like they did with the first Pac-Man World. Bandai Namco, please. Please, 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 please. Klonoa 2, Lieutenantsville. Another one of the best platformers from the PS2 era. This one just has a fantastic story. I think they remastered this one. They didn't do a remake. They remastered this one for the PC recently. Absolutely solid. Groove Rider. I don't think anyone has ever played this game. It's a racing game, but you're on slot cars. And that's it. That's it. That's all of it. SSX Tricky. It's tricky to rock a rhyme that's right on time. I gave this a 9, and I don't think anyone can argue that this game isn't just an absolute banger as well. Shrek Super Slam. Imagine Super Smash Bros, but it's Shrek, and that's what this game is. I don't know why it exists, but it's pretty fun. We're now into the original PlayStation, and we're starting off with Worms Reloaded. I gave this an 8. This is probably the most popular Worms game, and it is for a reason. It is absolutely solid. Toy Story 2. During this era of gaming, there were a lot of Disney licensed games, and they're a lot better than they have any right being. And Toy Story 2 is definitely one of those games. Worms Armageddon. Just another Worms game. Pretty solid. I don't remember what the gimmick for this game was, but it was just really good. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. I gave this one a 7. Abe's Odyssey is just a really, really good game. It unfortunately suffers from some really bad saving mechanics that kind of bring it down. It's a very, very, very difficult game. Alright, we have the OG Crash Bandicoot. This is a 9. This game is a true classic. It is the first video game I ever played, and it is still one of my favorites today. Even the old version, that isn't the Insane Trilogy version. Unfortunately, this game just kind of suffers from some outdated game mechanics. Next up, we have Crash Bandicoot 2. It improves on the first game in almost every way, except for the music. The music in this game is very forgettable. That's probably what stops it from being an honest 10 out of 10. Crash Bandicoot 3, I gave an 8, and for a game that was made in under a year, this game is really, really good. But, you know, obviously it suffers from some design decisions that, you know, if they had more time to look at it a bit more, they'd be like, maybe we shouldn't do this. Especially like with hidden gems and things like that. Crash Bash. This game has not aged well. I'll tell you that much. I just remember having a lot of fun with this game as a kid though. Crash Team Racing, I gave this a 7. It's the OG ripoff kart racer, and it's probably the game that does it the best, apart from Mario Kart. LAPD Future Cop. It was a top-down shooter from the PlayStation era, and it was very strange. A lot of fun though. Next up we have Medieval Remake, for some reason, not with the rest of the games that it should be. Anyway, the Medieval Remake is pretty good. It just brings the graphics up to scratch, but it doesn't do anything to the gameplay. Worms. This is the first Worms. It's not great. It spawned the franchise that is Worms. Dynasty Warriors 3. I gave this an 8. I really love Dynasty Warriors 3. It is my favorite of the PlayStation 1 and 2 era, and it's mostly because of the music. The music just fucking rules. Dynasty Warriors 2 was the first game that did the 3D fucking smash everyone up kind of thing. This game has some really bad balancing issues, and it's really, really hard. Disney Hercules, just another one of those solid Disney games. Frogger 2, Swampy's Revenge. A story-based Frogger game, and it's alright. It's kind of weird, but I like it. And it really stretches how far you can take Frogger's gameplay. Colin McRae Rally. My dad loved this game. I don't share his love for it though. Bloody Roar. Pretty solid fighting game. Pretty underrated. Gran Turismo, another game that my dad had for the PlayStation, and I didn't share my love for it. Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. I don't remember what this game is, to be honest. Some past version of me knew what this game was, I don't. Bugs Bunny Lost in Time. A really fun platformer. I kind of want to go back and play this game. I remember as a kid I never finished it because I got to a part where I didn't know what I was doing and I couldn't finish a puzzle because I was a stupid 7-year-old. Donald Duck Quack Attack was a platforming game starring Donald Duck. I just remember having a lot of fun with this one. It wasn't too hard. Hot Wheels Extreme Racing is another game I have no idea what it is. And we're going to leave it at that. Some of these games on this list I made like years ago and I don't remember what it is. Klonoa Beach Volleyball was a spin-off volleyball game for the Klonoa and it's very good. Lilo and Stitch Trouble in Paradise is a very average platformer. So you know how before I said there was a lot of those licensed Disney games that were better than they had any right being? This is not one of them. Austin Powers Pinball. This is just a gimmick pinball game. It's really bad. Don't play this game. Not that you probably could now anyway. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I didn't like this game. There was a really hard stealth section really early on in the game and I couldn't do it as a kid and I hated it. Ridge Racer. A really solid racing game for PlayStation 1. I love it. Wipeout. Was this in the PlayStation or the Nintendo 64? Anyway, Wipeout was a really cool little... I just remember having a pretty fun, like, unique racing mechanic. Rayman, the original. It's alright. Twisted Metal. Everyone's played Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal's a fun party game. Motor Toon Grand Prix 2. Yeah, this is a weird little kart racing game for the original PlayStation. It's a lot of fun. Overboard. What is Overboard? Oh, right, it's the little top-down ship game. Overboard's fun. Medieval, the original PlayStation version. Same as before. In the remake, they didn't really change the gameplay that much, so this is pretty much exactly the same. The OG Spyro the Dragon. Spyro is a lot of fun. It's similar to Crash 1 where it's a really solid game but it just suffers from some bad mechanics that they end up fixing later on. Roll Cage is a racing game where if I remember this game correctly, this was a game where if you flipped upside down in your car, you could just like keep driving upside down. Like your car had two sides. It was really weird. Anyway, I gave it a 6. Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage. Just does Spyro a little bit better, but not better enough. The original Grand Theft Auto. This game is just a lot of fun. That was back when Grand Theft Auto used to be top-down. The missions in the game are extremely hard, but the open world nature of the game is just a lot of fun. Pac-Man World, the OG, a solid platforming game that they made for the 20th anniversary of Pac-Man. Far out. This game is just good. Muppet Race Mania is an arcade racer for the PlayStation 1. It's when kart racing was all the rage and Muppets had one. It's okay. It's just okay. Monster Rancher 2. Oh my god, this fucking game. I have to just take a moment to talk about this game. If you don't know what this is, it is basically a Pokemon... I wouldn't say it's a Pokemon ripoff. It's basically Pokemon, but you'll have to like kind of bring up your Pokemon as if they were on a ranch. You could either find these monsters in the game, or you could get a CD, like a music CD, and put it into your PlayStation, and it would give you a monster based off the CD. And I don't know how it did it, if it was just random, or if it just picked how many tracks were in the CD or whatever. It was very bizarre. It took me a while to get into this game, and I was like probably 6 or 7 years old. It took me a while to finally get into this game and get a monster going. It was really hard as a kid, because I didn't know what I was doing, obviously. But eventually I got one going that I liked, and I was training him up, and I got him to do an obstacle course or something, train him up or whatever. Or maybe it was a battle or something, and my monster got critically injured doing it. And during the time he was injured, months would progress during the game while he was trying to recover, and I think he eventually died. I was so upset that I just never played the game again. Oh, also, the way I got this game is nobody bought it for me. The way I got this game, we went for a holiday to Melbourne one time. For some reason, we had separate rooms for some of my family, and my dad had a room for himself. And just like before we were leaving, like at the end of the holiday, he looked under his bed and he just found this game. This game is just under his hotel bed. Just this game by itself. It's just got this weird, it just has this weird memory in my head. Like, I'd love to play this game again one day just to try it out. Muppet Monster Adventure. I've actually played this game somewhat recently, within the last year, just to try it out again. It's just a fun little platforming game starring Kermit's nephew, I can't remember his name, where all the Muppets are like kind of turned into like classic monsters. I really love the Muppets, and this game's okay. Scooby-Doo Cyber Chase. This game is ass. I somehow managed to complete this, but what a disappointment. Worms World Party. This is the best Worms game in my opinion. Maybe not the best now, but definitely the best of this era. I just had a lot of fun playing this one, especially with friends and family. We love Worms, and this is the one we always played. Monsters Inc. Scare Island. This is a platformer from the original PlayStation era. It's a solid one of those Disney licensed games. Well, I thought so at the time. I'm not sure about it now. Another game I might have to revisit. Alright, we have made it to the PC block, and strap in because this one is really going to take a while. Gunfire Reborn is a roguelike first-person shooter, and it's pretty solid. I kind of wish there was just a little bit more content in there, but it is very good. We have Halo Infinite multiplayer. I gave this a 4. 343 actually built a pretty rock-solid Halo game, and a really good multiplayer for that game, and then they decided to just not give it any content, and not launch with Forge or a way to search for custom games like they do in the Master Chief Collection. It's very strange, and of course this game was going to die because they launched with no content. Good job. The single player, on the other hand, is essentially just Far Cry meets Halo, and I gave this an 8. Halo Infinite is a solid Halo game, and it's kind of a crying shame that it is so good and that the story just kind of goes nowhere for a lot of the game, unfortunately. Oh dear, here we are. League of Legends gets a 7. The game is mid at best. But it has birthed some of one of the most iconic modern day franchises. Arcane is obviously fantastic. The characters and the lore of the game are just really well done, and the music, oh my god, everything about League of Legends is fantastic, except for the game itself. And obviously I'm a Jinx fan for life, so that's some permanent brain damage that I'll never recover from. Broforce, I gave this a 6. Fun and good with friends, and the game's physics are make this game an absolute riot. The main problem that brings this game down is that the gameplay itself doesn't vary that much from what you start with, so it is mostly just the same going forward. Rocket League is a solid 8. It is one of the funnest multiplayer games of all time, and especially of the modern day era. I just wish they didn't sink so far into microtransaction hell. Dreamscaper is basically Binding of Isaac, but with a metagame story outside of the dungeon crawling aspect. It's alright. Risk of Rain 2. Honestly, this game is almost perfect. It improves on the first game in every way while bringing it to a new plane of existence, from 2D to 3D. The first game was a 2D Flash game, and it was a bit of a nightmare when shit starts hitting the fan. This game manages to keep the game solid in FPS and performance-wise when the shit is hitting the fan. It's really good. Tribes of Midgard, this is a 5. It was almost a decent premise, but it doesn't get the gameplay right. I think there's a good game in here, but itself of the game and the roguelike loop is not that great, if that makes any sense. Golf with Friends, look, it's a stupid fun golf game. Obviously the game itself is nothing too special. The fun that my friends and I have had with this is just kind of brings it up.
There, dude, there's no way out of that.
Yeah, he's gonna go the normal way now.
What?
That's not the normal way.
That's the normal way.
No, well, he didn't.
What? We made this fucking laugh, bro.
I'm giving it so much speed.
I'm giving it fuck all.
New World is a 3. It just needed more time in the oven before going out. New World was an absolutely great premise that was fucked by game balance, player exploits, and just terrible queue times when the game first launched. I remember you'd have to sit in queue for about 10 hours to get into the game. So what my friends and I would do is that we would get TeamViewer up and then just like log onto the game from our phones and just like while we're at work and stuff to just like queue into the game to get a chance to play the game. And if you crashed, you were fucked back into the queue. It was just a shit show of a launch, and it killed the game pretty much by having a bad launch. And then the player economy was not solid due to exploits, etc, etc. Could have been good, but no. Civilization 6, turn-based strategy. Civ's alright. I've never actually finished a game of Civ. No games of Civ ever get finished. It's the monopoly of video games. And it's the same with Civ 5. They're both good, but obviously I've never finished these games because Jesus Christ. Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic. Management sim. This one is nostalgia above all else. Roller Coaster Tycoon does the park management simulation better than anyone else, and has been doing it for 20 years. Phantom Abyss was a roguelike temple extraction game. This game is a lot of fun. It has a really good premise, but it just wasn't fully realized when it launched. Temtem is Pokemon for PC. Pokemon is just an okay game, and Temtem pretty much mimics that. I was having a lot of fun with it until there was a point in the game story where it took away all my Temtems and gave me like placeholder ones. It made sense in the context of the story, but gameplay-wise, it's just killed the game for me. Human Fall Flat is an 8, a good physics-based puzzler. It's just very solid, and the user-generated content really made this game a lot more fun. And me and Scrublike got so much mileage out of this game. We probably paid like $5 for it, and we got so much mileage out of this. It's unreal. Biomutant is a 2. This game infuriated me. On launch, I think they fixed this now, but like there was a made-up language that everyone spoke in the game, and then there was a narrator that would either talk over or would wait for them to finish saying something, or the narrator would talk over them. I don't know. It was just like infuriating to sit there and listen to. And that's all on top of the game just being shit in general. Stick Fight, the game, is just a really fun party game. It's kind of buggy, but it doesn't ruin the experience. What the Golf just feels like a ported mobile game. It's kind of charming, but I just can't get over the fact that it was released for PC and it feels like a mobile game, and it wasn't released as a mobile game. Moving Out, absolutely fantastic party game. You know, there's a video of it. It's just a lot of fun. Can't Drive This. There's video evidence of why I do not like this one. Cuisine Royale, a janky but fun battle royale. I think this game is pretty much dead now, but the best feature of this game was having the radio. Persona 5 Strikers. It combines Persona with Dynasty Warriors, and it's just a whole lot of fun. I need to go back and finish this game because I really love it. N++ is a platformer. It's got really solid gameplay, but really lacks the style of N+. Fuser was a music and rhythm DJ kind of game. Like, the rhythm game itself isn't that good, but the DJ mechanics of the game are actually a lot of fun to mess around with. Anyway, the game's dead now, so I'm not sure like what parts of the game are even playable, or even if like all the music is still there. Who the hell knows anymore?
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kind of dumb with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Well, the years start coming and they don't stop coming. Fed to the rules and I hit the ground running. Didn't make sense not to live for fun. Your brain gets smart but your head gets dumb. So much to do, so much to see.
Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. Honestly, just a really solid battle royale-ish party game. I got my money's worth and then some out of this one. Apex Legends. I gave this a 5. It's the plain white bread of battle royales. I don't like this game that much, but I see the appeal. Spelunky 2, a really punishing but solid roguelike game. The base game itself is a lot of... To do the completionist stuff in this game, you've got to be like an absolute wizard. Shout out to family friend Barry. He absolutely loves this game. Raft is a 5. It's a solid premise, but it really lacks in execution. Cyberpunk 2077. I gave this an 8, and this is launch Cyberpunk, not after any of the patches. This is what I thought of it on launch. This game has like 10 out of 10 world building and writing. I really was sucked into this game, and there are very few games that can get me as immersed into its world And Cyberpunk managed to do it while being a buggy mess, and it is an 8. I would love to go back and see what I think of it now. I haven't played it since it released 2 years ago. Killing Floor 2! It perfects the gameplay of Killing Floor 1, and it is a game that I come back to every year or two just to play, and goddamn is it just a bunch of fun. Black Mesa, I've given a 7. It is a very faithful remake for Half-Life 1, and it might just stay a little bit too faithful due to its very confusing level design. Yakuza Like a Dragon is the first turn-based RPG in the Yakuza franchise, and for some reason why a brawling game decided to do a complete 180 and go to JRPG territory is beyond me, but honestly, it is one of the best JRPGs I've ever played, and it is jank as hell. I'm really looking forward to the next entry because this game feels like it was like kind of just cobbled together, but it has no right being this good, and it is just that good. I recommend this game to anybody who wants to play like a good RPG. This game's fantastic. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is the third game in the Tomb Raider, what do you call it? Reboot? Reboot is the word. And this one just felt off. And the other two felt really good, this one just feels really, really off. There's something wrong with this game, and I can't really pinpoint what it is. Among Us. In my notes, I've just written Among Us. This game's good. Every now and then, a social deception game just fucking takes off, like Trouble in Terrorist Town before it, or Murder in Gmod.
Good luck, everyone. Have fun.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello?
What?
Why you
Yeah,
call
what
me?
is so
Was that?
emergent?
How's everybody doing?
Why are you wasting your emergency
After.
meeting?
I just wanted to talk to everyone, see how you going.
Good.
Is that
Why
a
would you
script?
press that? No,
He just
what do you
wasted his
mean?
emergency meeting, bro. He must be an imposter.
CD, I'm a crew member. Why would I threaten somebody?
Vote for troll. Vote for troll.
Don't think
Yeah,
so. He
vote-
wasted his
Vote for troll.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you guys actually did it.
I actually did it.
Russian style.
That's not
Oh,
good.
yeah.
That's not good. Jesus Christ.
Done.
Vote
I'm
with
out.
impunity.
And Among Us was just the latest, and it just managed to just hit that right point in time. And it's okay as a game, but it has no right being as popular as it is. Yakuza Kiwami, which is a remake of the first Yakuza game. It's a decent enough remake, but it's... I think partially the 5 is because I played this right after Yakuza 0, which I gave a 9. This is the gold standard of Yakuza game. I absolutely recommend people play this game if they haven't. It is so good. Story-wise and gameplay-wise, absolutely fantastic. The Outer Wilds, that's the space exploration game. I need to play a bit more of this before I give it a proper scoring, but at the moment it is a 7. I haven't played enough. I do want to play more, and I know there is a good game here somewhere. I just gotta play it. Phasmophobia. In my notes I've written nah. I think this was one of those. Oh, this is the one where you do the ghost hunting or ghost tracking and you talk to ghosts or whatever. No, I didn't get into this game. My friends and I, we gave it a try, but I really couldn't get into what was going on. DayZ Standalone. This game is still unfinished. They've released it 1.0, but this game still feels unfinished. Thinking back to how much fun I had on DayZ mod and the fact that original DayZ killed DayZ mod, it makes me upset because DayZ mod was just a lot more solid. This game just adds too many systems and just kind of makes what made the original DayZ mod unfun as a game. A Hat in Time. I gave this a 9. This game is fantastic. I cannot give this more praise if I could. Well, I could because it's a 9, not a 10. It's basically a Mario 64 style kind of game, you know, collectathon, kind of like re-entering the same level but with different missions and different things happening in the mission, like modifiers. This game is also just a hell of a lot of fun. There's just a bit of a lull period towards the end of the game that kind of brings it down. It doesn't keep the momentum all the way through. But as I said, this game is absolutely fantastic and I really recommend people play this. And you can play it co-op as well, I believe now. So, if you can, you should. Steam summer sales at the moment, pick it up, please. Hades is a roguelite. This was one of the first kind of roguelike games to do the metagame outside the roguelike gameplay, and it does it really well. This game is very charming. The people at Supergiant Games, they don't miss when they make a game. They just do not miss. Team Fortress 2 is a class-based shooter. Everyone knows what Team Fortress 2 is. I have way too many hours in this game, and that is not because of the base game. It is because of community-based servers. Just to go for a quick trip down memory lane, a game mode I used to play in this game all the time was Saxton Hale, a community-based mod of an event that happened years ago or whatever. In that mod, you basically had one person who was just an absolute Giga Chad, like almost unkillable boss, and everybody else, there was like 23 other players, and you had to pretty much try and kill the boss, and he would one-hit you if you ever got close. I played on the server that had custom bosses that you could play as, and it was a furry server. I think it was called Aussie Ferocity or some shit like that. And it was a furry server, so there were like ponies, like from My Little Pony, and just other really weird shit in there. But I played so many hours on that server. It's a bit embarrassing, but I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was a hell of a lot of fun. Team Fortress 2 is mostly dead now. It's running on fumes, but man, memories. It's still one of my most played games on Steam just because of that. Persona 4 Golden, I have given it a 5. I don't think this game is bad. I just think it has aged too much for me to enjoy it. And going back to Persona 4 from Persona 5, it's a bit too much. I can't enjoy it, unfortunately. I know that there is a good game and a good story here. The Escapists 2, why did I think I would like this? I didn't like the first one. I thought the second one might be better. It's not. Streets of Rogue is a 7. This is a game that I went into with no expectations, and it is just a goofy and fun sandbox game. I'm really looking forward to the second one. Jazzpunk, I have no idea what this game is. I've played about 10 minutes of it. I've loved it, and I need to go back to it, but from what I played, it is so goofy and fun. It's really up my alley. A 7 for now. I'm going to come back to this one at a later date. Shell Shock Live is a turn-based strategy tank game. I'm not sure if anyone ever played that old tank game on Miniclip. It was a bit like Worms, but it was a tank game. My primary school friends would know what this is. But anyway, it's basically that. Shell Shock Live is basically that. Shout out to Shrub for getting me onto it. I do like it, but it doesn't do anything special. Mount Your Threads 3D. It's alright. It is what it is. Renegade Ops is a top-down shooter. It's just forgettable. It's just a very forgettable top-down shooter. Drunken Wrestlers 2 is a party game. It's a lot of stupid fun. Just button mash, beat the shit out of your friends. It's good for a few hours. Oh, PUBG. PUBG. What do I say about PUBG? I have it as a 7 here, but I'm not sure if it should be a 7. I dropped this game because it just could not fix most of the problems that it had. And the biggest one that killed it for me was just the server issues. Killed it in the end. It is a 7 because I got my money's worth. I had so many awesome experiences playing this game, but it is so disappointing that this game just could not get there by the time I stopped playing it. And I don't think I could respect myself as a human being going back to playing it after how kind of disrespected I feel as a consumer playing this game. Like I said, I got my money's worth and then some out of it, but I still feel like the game should have been better than what it was in the end. Spelunky, I think I talked about Spelunky 2 before. It's just a very solid roguelike game. The thing I love the most about this game, almost every mob in this game plays by the same rules that you do. The game is hard to survive, but that's the same for all the enemies. Like, they could die to the same way you do by like some weird physics or some weird thing just happening, or plant eating. It's so good. I just love how tightly designed this game is. Pit People is a turn-based strategy game made by Behemoth, who made Castle Crashers. I played this game when it was in early access. I haven't played it since it's been released, and if I do play it, I will have to play it from the beginning, I reckon, because it's been that long. It's pretty unique for a turn-based strategy game, and I really liked that it's stripped down, and the story was a lot of fun. Stardew Valley is a 7. This game is just cozy. That's the only way to describe Stardew Valley, is it's absolutely cozy. You just sit there and play, and I managed to watch through all 9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother while playing this game. And that's just what I did. That's just my memory of this game, was playing through Stardew Valley and watching How I Met Your Mother on the side. I had a really good week. XCOM Chimera Squad was an XCOM spin-off. It kind of stripped everything down and gave it a bit of character work. Instead of having, you know, random grunt kind of characters, your characters were actual people, and there was like a little bit of sim to it. I really liked this, although I know a lot of people didn't, but I do like the stripped down version of it where I didn't have to manage a base from enemies. It kind of helped alleviate that tension that I don't like about the other XCOM games. Planet Coaster is a game I do not like. It is Roller Coaster Tycoon, but there's just too much, man. There's too many systems. There's too much to try and get a grip of. It just kind of needs to just simplify itself a little. Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends. This is probably my favorite modern Dynasty Warriors game. Dynasty Warriors, however. It's a PC port, which is why it is being docked a couple points here to around 8. It feels very console porty. That being said, this game is still very cool. I like it. Melody's Escape is a rhythm game. One of those ones where you can import your own music, and that's fun, but the gameplay itself and the way the game interacts with the music you put into it is not varied enough. Oh fuck, I need to take a drink of water before I say this one. Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball is a dodgeball game where you're a robot on a unicycle. And honestly, the vibes of this game are fucking amazing. The gameplay itself is okay, and you kind of need a lot of people to play this game, because otherwise you're just playing with bots, and playing with bots isn't as fun. But if you have a lot of friends who are willing to play a game like this, it'll be a lot of fun, trust me. Worms WMD is probably the best modern Worms game. Worms got very experimental for a while there, and this one kind of brought it all back to what makes it good, and then added some vehicle play into it, which is a lot of fun. I really love this game. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. I don't know which Binding of Isaac this is. There is so many, like, I think this is the pixelated remake, which, if I'm correct, is the good one. But there are so many, like, expansions and just different things going on with the Binding of Isaac. I kind of lost track. It is a fun game I come back to every now and then, but I don't know which expansions I have, and I don't know which versions of the game I have anymore. It's all fucked. Nidhogg is a really fun little sword dueling game. Vector and I got a lot of mileage out of this one. Soul Calibur 6 is a fighting game I just couldn't get into. There's not much to say about this one. This was the one with the weapons and stuff. I just could not get into it. Maple Story 2 is a 5. This game is long since dead, which is an absolute shame. It's an MMO that just released with not enough content. But the content it released with and the customization in the game was so cool. It was done at a level that I really loved. Like, the instruments, the character customization was just done at a level that I haven't seen in a long time. And the open world nature of the MMO was just a lot of fun. The problem, you could grind out max level in a day or two, and then after that there was no end game content, and then the game just died within like a couple of weeks, and then it got shut down, unfortunately. The game was a lot of fun, but I can only give it a 5 because it just could not reach MMO heights. There wasn't enough content for me to stick around, which is just, a lot of MMOs do that when they launch. They fuck it up like that. Destiny 2 is a game that I started. I tried to play it when it became free to play on PC. No. I know a lot of people like this game, but I do not. Next up we have Kindergarten. Kindergarten is kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure style game. It's stupid fun, it's crass, and, you know, it's good for what it is. The sequel is just a little bit better. It fleshes out everything and just feels like you're not... It feels like it doesn't rely on trial and error as much as the other game, and it's not as punishing, and it kind of makes it all-round better to play. The Beginner's Guide is a story game made by one of the people who did The Stanley Parable. I don't think this game is that great, but the story just kind of resonated me in a way that not many other games do. I play through this every now and then because it has a really interesting story. The story is just very unique. I like the unreliable narrator in this game, and even though he isn't voice acted that well, but he is played by as someone who's meant to be a developer and not voice acted well. And when he gets emotional, he actually does it very well. And honestly, it's just very good. I do recommend playing it. Oh, Starbound. There was an era in Steam games. This was one of the first ones to do it, and it's still going on. Early access survival games. Games that are just, the game is like released and the frame is there and not the picture. The Starbound has been released now, and I'm sure it's an okay game, but The game I played was not what was advertised, and the progress on development was so unbearably slow that I just could not play it. It's just a disappointment. Electronic Superjoy 2 is a music-based platformer. I liked the first one, the second one just did not strike a chord with me. Brawlhalla is pretty much We've Got Smash Brothers at Home, PC edition. It's pretty solid. I really like the way that the characters are in this game, especially with the weapon system. There's not much else to say about this, but I had my fun with this one, especially being it free to play. God's Trigger is a top-down co-op shooter. Affected and I played through this one. I don't know if we finished it, but you know, one person plays the devil and one person plays an angel, which, you know, it feels like one of those old Xbox Live Arcade games. It's not special, but it was fun. My Friend Pedro is an action game. I really like the physics in this game, and I kind of want to play more of it. It is on my list to play more of. I don't think I really like the visual style of the game. Ring of Elysium was a battle royale game. It might still be alive, but I don't think it is. One of my favorite battle royales. Every time the game had a new season, it would really spice things up, whether it be with a new map or just like a new character abilities. Honestly, I still look back on this game very fondly. Steambird's Alliance was a top-down shooter, now dead. I talked about it briefly in the Summer Games Fest video. That has long since been abandoned, but it was a live service game that just didn't take off. But what I played of it was a lot of fun. Valkyria Chronicles is a turn-based strategy I could not get into. I just do not like the gameplay. The story was like okay, and it was kind of got me started, but like the first mission started, I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't like how the game played. Pummel Party, Mario Party at Home for PC. It's alright. I haven't played it since they've added the 8-player mode or anything like that. I do want to play a little bit more of it with friends if I can ever organise the time. But for now, it's solid, but nothing special really. Never Split the Party is a free-to-play roguelike game. It is just awful. The enemies in this game do not have scaling based on how many people you play with, so if you're playing with 2 people, it'll still have the difficulty of 4 players. This game just feels like it was shut out, really. It doesn't feel like people were meant to play this game. It was meant to be played with 4 people and only 4 people, and if that was the case, then they should just limit it to that. I don't know, it's just amateur hour in this game. Don't play it. Clone Drone in the Danger Zone is I don't know how you'd describe this game. You play as a robot clone and you just fight other robots. It's fun. I like the gameplay loop in this game. Super Cloud Built. I think this was a remaster of Cloud Built, but it only came out a couple of years after Cloud Built and they charged full price for it. Something felt very off about this game when I played it and I just stopped playing it. Gang Beasts is a party fighting game. This game's just a hell of a lot of fun. There's not much else to say about it. Grab some friends, you'll have a riot. I Am Bread is I Am Bread came out at a time where Goat Simulator was very popular. So obviously random simulator games were the thing of the time. I Am Bread just capitalizes on that. You're bread. You gotta make your way across terrain as bread. And that is it. That's I Am Bread. Pogo Stuck, Rage with Your Friends is Bennett Foddy on a pogo stick. It's not good enough. Tales of Escape. I don't remember what this game is, but I'm going to trust my past self with it, and I think it was a puzzle escape room kind of deal. Blast Zone Tournament. It is Bomberman at Home, PC version. This game barely worked when we tried to play it. I think we got it working once and it was, no. Beat Hazard. Beat Hazard is a fun little top-down shooter. The intensity of the game is based on the music that you're listening to within the game. It's a lot of fun. I never ended up playing the second one, but the first one was really, really good. Thumper is I'd say it's a rhythm game, but it's kind of a rhythm game, but it's a survival-y kind of rhythm game. It's weird to describe. This game is so intense. It's ridiculous. And it is a lot of fun. Audio Surf 2, this game is okay. Obviously, a lot of it comes from listening to your own music, and sometimes I just don't see, there's not enough variety in the game, I feel like. I think that's the main problem with Audio Surf 2. It is okay though. Russian Roulette, One Life. This is a gimmick game where you just play Russian Roulette, and if you die, you can't play the game again, unless you pay money to have unlimited lives. XCOM 2, it's turn-based strategy. XCOM 2 is a very fun game. As I said before with Chimera Squad, I'm not a fan of the base management part of the game, but it is like, it's good, it's just a bit too much for me. That being said, the gameplay itself is a lot of fun. Mr. Shifty is an action kind of game. It didn't really resonate with me. Running with Rifles is a top-down shooter where it's massively multiplayer and one bullet will kill you. I love the ideas here, but I don't think the execution is that great. Realm Royale is a battle royale that... Which one was this one? I think this was the spell casting one. It wasn't good. I think it's dead now as well. Pac-Man Championship Edition 2. I gave this one a 6. It's okay. The single player in this game is set out in a very tedious and very terrible way, and that brings it down a few notches, despite it being a really fun game. Quake Champions was I think the newest Quake game. I'm not sure if there's been any since, but it was a kind of a class-based version of Quake. It was okay. It might even be dead now, I don't know. Totally Accurate Battlegrounds was another battle royale. Very gimmicky, and it released without much content, but it was a fun idea. Risk of Rain, absolute sleeper hit of a game. I don't think most people have played the first Risk of Rain, but it was very, very good. The thing is, the game could not handle the later stages when there was just so much crap going on. Satellite Rain is, I think it was it was a top-down shootery kind of game, or a tactics game. I just remember it being in a cyberpunk era. It wasn't good. Soul Worker is one of those weird little free-to-play games that are like, you just do dungeons. You just do, like, it's an RPG game where you just do dungeons and it's got microtransactions in it. Nothing special. I don't know what Bomb Tag is. Bomb Tag was just like a shitty free-to-play party game and it didn't really work right. Battle Right was a free-to-play MOBA on Steam. No go. Just doesn't do anything to stand apart from the rest. Enders Nigh is a platformer made by one of the dudes from Super Meat Boy. The music in this game is really cool, and the gameplay is a little bit similar to Super Meat Boy, except it's more Metroidvania-y kind of map progression, which is kind of interesting. Hand Simulator is another one of those weird gimmick games that came out during the simulator era. I didn't go much on this. It's Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet is a game that brings back a lot of memories. The game was more fun before we found out that the ships had guns on them. Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed is an arcade kart racer, and this is actually pretty good. Whereas most of these kart races are like Mario Kart at home kind of feely kart racer things, this one feels like it does enough to justify its own existence. The tracks in this game are just so gorgeous. This game is fantastic. Trials Evolution was, I think, the first, I'm not sure if it was the first Trials game to come to PC, or it was like the first of the new wave. This one had multiplayer in it, and the multiplayer mode is a lot of fun. Yeah, Trials Evolution is an absolutely solid game. 100% Orange Juice, Skyline and I picked up and played this game once, I think, and we didn't know what was going on the entire time. We couldn't figure it out. Mount Your Friends, same as Mount Your Friends 3D. You know what you're getting into when you play this game. CSGO, ooh. I've played a lot of hours of CSGO. The same can be said of Valorant whenever that comes up. It's okay, but it's just... I go through waves of liking this game and then not liking this game. I haven't played this game in like 5 years, and maybe I might pick up CSGO 2 when it comes up. Honestly, these games, they just infuriate me, and that's why I don't really like them as much as other shooters. They're just really infuriating. South Park, The Stick of Truth gets a 7. If you're a fan of South Park, this game is just good. I do like that it just does something a little bit different as an RPG as well. Viscera Cleanup Tale is just another one of those fucking simulator games. It's a gimmick. You just clean shit up, and when you get bored, you Alt F4. Tabletop Simulator gets a 7. This is really cool. I mean, you get what you get out of this. You just download whatever board games you want to play with friends, and then you play them. Atlas Reactor is a turn-based strategy game that was kind of mixed as like a class-based, I don't want to say MOBA, but it was like turn-based strategy, like you play your own character and you go into a 3v3 where you work as a team and like use abilities. Yeah, I would say maybe like a little bit XCOM-y, but as a multiplayer, like arena turn-based strategy game. It was a lot of fun, and it's a shame that this game is dead now. because I really liked this one. Ark Survival Evolved is a 2. This game is just straight up unfun. I played a few hours of it and the game never really got any better the more I played it, and it's just repetitive, time-consuming nonsense. Age of Empires 2 is, I don't think there's much to say about this. It's an RTS, it's fun, it's whatever you get out of it really. It is a 5. This is mostly because I don't really like RTSs. I wouldn't go out and do, a real review on an RTS because I just don't really like the genre. But, as personal enjoyment, I don't get much out of it. Insurgency is a first-person shooter. I want to say it leans a bit more towards realism, but really it doesn't. It's just kind of a bit more hardcore and, extremely punishing. But it goddamn is a lot of fun. Not a Hero is a kind of a platformer-y kind of game. Yeah, a lot of fun. Extremely hard to 100%. It's just kind of solid. Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor is a 6. I like what this game had going for it. I wish it kind of had a bit more going for it. I should probably play the second one because I've heard that's a little bit better. Hyper Light Drifter is a 9. Hyper Light Drifter is one of my favourite games. Come out, contributed to the Kickstarter, and it's the only Kickstarter I've ever contributed to. I'm glad to say I'm 1 for 1 with Kickstarter backings, and I'm going to keep that record, I feel like. Honestly, it's just everything I wanted when I saw the Kickstarter. If you ever play the game through completion, you'll see my name in the credits somewhere, I'm sure. Oddworld, new and tasty. A remake of Abe's Odyssey, and it just kind of fixes everything bad about Abe's Odyssey, and just kind of brings everything up to scratch, and is a bit more lenient when it comes towards saves and checkpoints, etc. The art style in this game just isn't that good. The first one had such a unique art style that the new one just doesn't capitalize on, which is unfortunate. Gary's Mod is an 8. What is there to say about this? I have so many hours in this game. This game was built by its community. Trouble in Terrace Town is where most of my hours went, and Gmod Theatre before it died. Memories, man. So many memories. Undertale is a fantastic turn-based strategy game. It is criminal that a game this simple is this good. White Noise 2 is another one of those multiplayer horror games. It just didn't have any horror or any fun game to play. Magicka is a 7. Magicka is just a lot of fun. The game gets a bit gimmicky and it kind of wears off. I've never actually finished this game with friends or anything else. We just kind of never make it that far. Monaco, What's Yours Is Mine is a heist kind of puzzle game. Same as Magicka, it's fun, but it doesn't quite have everything there that it needs to be a fun game that you want to play through. Crypt of the Necrodancer is a roguelike rhythm. I would like to play more of this. I can just never get synced up to the music properly. And maybe I just need to give it a bit more time, but I just really can never get into it properly. Age of Mythology, many hours have been spent on this one, even though it's an RTS. Friends and I love this one. Me less so than my friends because I'm bad at RTSs. Rise of the Tomb Raider is the second Tomb Raider reboot. This one is a hell of a lot of fun. The story gets a bit bonkers towards the end, but which of them don't? Inside is a puzzly platformer from the people who did Limbo. I would say it's better than Limbo. The puzzles are fun and the ending is batshit insane. Unturned, I think that's that Robloxy open world survival game. It's no good. Necropolis is hard to talk about. This game is really good, or it could have been really good. It's just plain unfinished and development was abandoned. The game that's there is good, but where's the rest of my game? Dead by Daylight, I give a 5. This game was much more fun while it was still a horror game. Now it's just asymmetric multiplayer game that people play, and it's got a horror backdrop, a lot of horror icons in it, but the horror's gone, and so, I don't find it as fun anymore. H1Z1 Battle Royale is a 5, mostly just because of the fun I had playing it. I think the game is dead now. I had my fun with it, and it wasn't anything special, but, Arma 3 is a 5. It's weird with Arma games because the games themselves are never anything really special. It's mostly what the community does with the engine. And the community didn't really do much with the engine that I kind of liked and maybe sink some hours into. That and the game just ran like arse. Dead Core was like a puzzle FPS. It was okay. The puzzles were fun, but the gameplay itself was a little bit bland. Call of Duty World at War. This is my favorite Call of Duty game. I give it an 8. The campaign is extremely fun and the multiplayer was so good. With the exception of the MP40 and Bouncing Betties, they were pieces of shit. And obviously also introduced COD Zombies. Many hours spent on COD Zombies. Terra was an MMO that was really good and was probably better than it had any right being. That being said, the community in this game, they scare me. I tried to get a friend of mine to play this once and he got adopted by someone 5 minutes into the game. Who's Your Daddy is a 7. I don't know what I can say about this one. It's fun. The Escapist, like I said before, I don't gel with this game and I didn't gel with the second one. The game just doesn't seem fun. I like the look of it, it just isn't. Fistful of Frags was a free-to-play kind of western shooter. Pass the whiskey. Smite should have been so much better than it was. Like League of Legends, it's a very mid kind of MOBA. World of Fishing. My friends and I played this game just to kill time one evening as fun. I think they liked it a lot more than I did. Amazing World is a puzzle game, I think. I think it's a game. I don't know. I played this game. There's a video on my channel somewhere. It's for children. The culling gets a 2. Like PUBG, there were a lot of issues to fix with this game and balance issues, and the developers just kind of killed this game, but they did it in a very spectacular fashion, and that alone is just worth a 2. The game could have been much more fun, but it wasn't that great. Pac-Man Championship Edition DX+. I mean, this is just Pac-Man with EDM, and it's fucking great. Speedrunners is a party game that is really, really fun, and I definitely recommend it if you have some people around.
Oh. There's an elevator there. Oh no, that's bad.
No! What?
That's
fucking ripped off.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh.
Yeah. You've seen what I've seen.
The old Blitzcrank hooks.
Yeah. What was that?
Fuck.
Oh god. Screen's so small.
Holy shit.
No, 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 no.
Yes! Sleeping Dogs is a 6, which some people might think is criminally low, and I would almost agree with you, but the game just has not aged that well. The story is good, and the music in the game is good, but the rest of the game just kind of has aged poorly, unfortunately. Deus Ex Human Revolution, I give a 4. I see some merit to this game, but it wasn't for me. Party Hard is a puzzle game. You basically just have to kill people in a party and not get spotted or survive killing everyone in the party. But the game just doesn't work as intended. Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion is a cool little free-to-play game on Steam that I recommend playing. It's a bit of a slow burn, but it's got some fun elements to it. Lethal League is a fun little party game where you hit balls at each other with baseball bats. Does what it says, nothing special. Dive Kick, a very fun game, despite the fact that you only have 2 buttons to play with. Diving and kicking. This one's fun for about 30 minutes. Just Cause 3 is a 4. This game just does not live up to Just Cause 2. It's not as fun. The Sandbox is okay, but it just doesn't grip me like the second one did. Wolfenstein: The New Order is just a very, very fun, solid first-person shooter, and that's all Wolfenstein needs to be. The story in this game as well is surprisingly good. Love Beat, Shovel Knight is an extremely good platforming game. I really like how it commits to the NES-style graphics of the game, while not committing to the flawed game design of that era. Edge is a little puzzle game where you roll around as a block. I think everyone's played a game like this before. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is a okay horror game, but I don't like the puzzle elements in this game. Battle Block Theater is a solid co-optional game. Gunpoint is a little puzzly action game. It's got a unique control system that I really liked in it. but the puzzles in the game and the way to complete the game is pretty much the same all the way through. Hotline Miami! Oh man, Hotline Miami is a very, very good game. Obviously, everyone talks about the soundtrack, and the soundtrack is good, and the story is good. Everything about this game is good, and obviously Hotline Miami 2 is just that bit better. Soundtrack is just a little bit better, the multiple characters giving multiple ways to play the game. Honestly, fantastic fucking game from start to finish. Lisa is a turn-based RPG kind of game. I hate to give this one a 3 because I like the idea of it, but I just could not get into the game. I really wanted to like this, but I just couldn't get into it. Stealth Inc. 2 is a puzzle game that doesn't do anything special. It just feels like one of those mini-clip flash games. Counter-Strike Source is another one of those games that was just, the community makes it. Bee-hopping servers, minigame servers, you name it. They are what made this game fun. Sonic Generation, one of the better modern Sonic games. The problem with this is just the 3D Sonic parts are just not fun, really. Terraria gets a 3. I never can get into this game, and my experiences with this game have always been negative, and they've been nothing but negative. Sanctum 2. What the fuck is Sanctum 2? Give me a second. Ah, right. Sanctum 2 is a tower-based defense game where you could also run around in kind of a first-person shootery way. It's okay. Don't love it, don't hate it. Shantae, Risky's Revenge. Nah, man. I really like the art style in this game and the setting, but I just cannot get into the gameplay. Borderlands 2 is a 7. With Borderlands games, it always seems that the gameplay gets better and the story gets worse as the game goes along. And like, this game is very solid Ghana, like RPG, FPS. Handsome Jack is obviously a good villain. The writing in this game is a bit too self-indulgent, haha random, which I do not like. That being said, this game is fun. Red Orchestra 2, oh, this one brings back memories, was another one of those hardcore first-person shooters, and back in the day, it was a lot of fun to play. Lovely Planet is, we're getting into the dredges now, a weird little first-person-y shooter thing. The art style is really strange and in your face, and I hate it. But the game itself doesn't have enough to it. Killer Is Dead is it's kind of like a Devil May Cry kind of game. I like the idea. It's a bit of a budget title. The art style is really cool, but it felt too budgety to me for me to like it. Kickbeat is not good, and the music choices are really bad. Damned is a multiplayer horror game. It's one of those asymmetric multiplayer games where someone plays like a ghoul or some shit and you gotta spook the other people and kill them. Fun was had. Max Payne 3, I give a 9. This game is so good. The gameplay and the story just elevate this game so much. And it has aged pretty gracefully as well. The only thing I could say is I wish there were just a couple more set pieces that, broke up the game, especially towards the end when it starts to become a bit of a slog to get through. Arma 2 is a 7. Like I said about Arma 3 before, Arma 2 base game isn't that great, but the mods for the game and the way the community built around it was really great, and I really miss this game. That's exactly the same with DayZ Mod. DayZ Mod launched in one of the most roughest states I've ever seen any game or mod or anything like release in. Having to play the game alone was just an absolute mess to get going. It involved like downloading different clients and making them update, and I don't know how this game got so popular because this game was like an absolute mess to get going.
Yeah, that's gonna fall off.
I'm gonna look at it where it is now, and I'm gonna look at it in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's definitely it's about halfway down now, isn't it?
Yeah. It's to the edge now.
But how fucked up would it...
I'm worried about going over the top of this.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's solid.
You want to try first? Yeah, exactly. Shut up.
Imagine if that thing fell off, broke the shed, and we just fell off and died because the shed broke underneath us.
That's probably what's going to happen.
No.
I should turn the propellers on and then eject.
That won't give us away everything.
Yeah, well, that'd be funny anyway. It'd still be funny from someone else's perspective, the shotgun has fallen off the side. Imagine that, they're just running past after they'd looted the barracks. running past down to the sheds, and then boom, the shovel just lands. Oh, it's gone. It's fucking gone. Look at it go.
Oh god, it's speeding up.
See ya. Oh, you're right.
I did it.
I'm alive.
I'm alive too.
What the fuck was that?
Distance is a futuristic racing game. The tracks have like lots of hazards and shit on them. Yeah, the game, when I played it, went through various stages of not working and working. Stuart and I tried to play it a few times, and it was sometimes fun and sometimes really not fun, and I couldn't pick why. Skullgirls is a fighting game. It's got a pretty unique art style to it, and the game is still being supported today, which is kind of amazing. Race the Sun is an endless runner, and it's a fun endless runner, but there's not much else to say about it apart from the fact that it's an endless runner. Rhythm Zone was a really fun Guitar Hero-y type game on the PC, and the reason it has a 2 is because the game is no longer playable and there is no reason for it to be no longer playable. It's like all based offline, and it is all based off like music you can put into the game yourself, but the game just stopped getting supported and it broke and they never fixed it. Payday 2, a lot of fun to be had on this one. Way too much DLC, way too much DLC to keep up to date with. What is there is an absolute fucking riot. Half-Life is a 7. This is Half-Life Source. Absolutely solid first-person shooter. Pretty much the same as Black Mesa, just Left 4 Dead 2. The game is probably, I know I've said solid a lot, but the game is absolutely solid. Marlow Briggs, I've given a 7. This fucking game. This game is wild. This game plays like a B movie. Next up we have Killing Floor, I've given a 7. Killing Floor is a solid co-op game, and I've said solid again, but that's what this one is. This one hasn't really aged as gracefully, especially now that Killing Floor 2 is out and does everything that Killing Floor does, but better. Next up we have Contagion. This game has a really solid concept, but lacks in execution in almost every single way. Even Orb was a little puzzle game that just didn't resonate with me at all. Worms Revolution is another game in the Worms franchise, and this one is a 2 because they tried to make it class-based, and honestly, it's just not fun. One of the best things about Worms is like the freedom to do the things that you want during your turn or whatever, and limiting things to classes and having classes do certain things, it just did not merge well with the Worms gameplay. Audio Surf, the original Audio Surf actually feels a lot better than Audio Surf 2, just base game. Although Audio Surf 2 looks a lot better, but Audio Surf 1 is a very solid rhythm game. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Like Marlow Briggs, this game is just like a B movie. It's the B game of fucking Metal Gear. It is just this wild as fuck action game, and it just goes off the rails so many times. The story is absolute nonsense, and I love all of it. Mirror's Edge is that parkour game that everyone talked about back in the day, and I think everyone has the same criticisms. It's fun, it's too short, and it should have been open world. Geometry Wars 3, Dimensions Evolve. I think everyone's played Geometry Wars. It's just a top-down shooter. It's nothing special, but it does have a really cool art style. Tory Bash is kind of like a turn-based game. It's that one game where you have to fight someone else, but you have to use your muscles, the muscle joints in a character, and tweak them or whatever to make your move. I've seen some pretty wild shit playing this game. It's fun. I'm not good at it, but it's fun. Trials Fusion, another entry in the Trials franchise. Despite it being one of the newer ones, it wasn't as good as Evolution, mostly due to the fact that the game runs like absolute garbage. GTA San Andreas is getting a 5, and I can hear everyone angrily typing now. I could just never get into San Andreas. I didn't play much of it growing up. I had Vice City, I didn't have San Andreas. And by the time I got San Andreas, I'd already played Grand Theft Auto 4, and going back was just... it just didn't feel good, and I just could never get into it, unfortunately. Frozen Synapse Prime was... it's a turn-based strategy game. Didn't quite live up to the hype of the original. I didn't like it. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. This was the... it's pretty much a demo for Metal Gear Solid 5. It's basically just a prequel mission. and it's okay enough. Goat Simulator, the gimmick simulator to gimmick them all. I'll give it a 6, dumb fun. Bit Trip Runner 2 did not gel with me. Transistor, from the people who made Hades and Bastion. I really loved the story in this game. It feels like though there was some cut content. The end of the game just kind of comes at you really quickly. Binding of Isaac, the original. This game pretty much popularized roguelikes, the roguelike genre. I love the art style, I love the setting. Everything about it is really good. Rogue Legacy, I give a 3. Solid concept. I just feel like the gameplay just doesn't live up to it. It's very boring. Hitman Absolution, I'm giving this one a 3, but with the caveat that this game is probably really fun. I just cannot play Hitman games. I'm terrible, I don't like them. I like watching other people play them though. Tomb Raider 2013, the first Tomb Raider reboot. We did these in reverse order. This one's a 7. This one was a pleasant surprise. I don't think a Tomb Raider game like the old ones could work in this day and age. Oh, Skyrim. Like I said before, I just cannot get into Elder Scrolls games, and Skyrim was the one I tried the hardest with. I tried playing it vanilla, I tried modding it, I tried modding things that I didn't like about it into the out of the game. I just can't. There's just something about the Elder Scrolls that I do not like, and I just cannot ever get myself into those games. Sound Dodger is a less than remarkable rhythm game where you just dodge shit. The music's okay, and that's about it. Dead Rising 3, I give this one a 7. I like it a lot more than most people do. I'm a fan of the Dead Rising franchise, and even though it's not as goofy as the other ones, it still has its moments, and the main character's a bit of a fucking wet towel, but whatever. FTL, Faster Than Light. This is a 6. I'm bad at this game. I'm really bad at this game, but I know that that's my fault. I still like playing it though. PlanetSide 2, I'm not sure if this game still exists, but it was like a massive multiplayer battlefield. The big thing I dislike about this game was that the objectives seemed a bit convoluted. Other than that, the game itself is a lot of fun. Nosgoth gets a 5. This game actually is dead, I know that for sure. It was like a vampires and demons versus humans, like asymmetrical multiplayer. I just didn't find this game as fun as other people did, and that is why it's dead. Benja. It's not as fun as you think it is. Half-Life 2 is a 9. This game is the gold standard for first-person shooters. Absolutely amazing setting, story, puzzles, just everything about it. Cloud Built is a platformer. I gave this one a 6. I was loving it up until a certain point. You can play this game on controller or keyboard, and I opted to play on controller. Turns out some of the puzzles in the game require a lot of sensitivity on the camera and movement, which you can't do on the controller. And the puzzles are that convoluted that trying to do them on the keyboard while learning the controls on the keyboard is just kind of unrealistic. And so I had to drop the game. The Wolf Among Us was one of those Telltale games. Development on this got delayed so many times that by the time they finished actually making the game, I just did not care anymore. Dota 2 is a MOBA that I just do not like. There are some really weird design choices in here that just feels like it could use some quality of life adjustments that League of Legends actually does. And it's a bit more hardcore and a lot more punishing, and I don't like that. Bit Trip Beat was a rhythm game that kind of sucked, and that's all I have to say about it. Dead Rising 2 Off the Record is a remake of Dead Rising 2 but with a different protagonist. It does a lot of things better than Dead Rising 2, and I do appreciate the changes to the story itself. There was a fun twist that happens a bit later on that I wasn't expecting that kind of took me off guard, but I really loved. Pixel Piracy, the physics didn't work when I tried it. The game didn't work really when I tried it, and it just got a 1 because it just didn't work. The original Borderlands. This one is an 8. Some of you may notice that I've rated it higher than Borderlands 2, and that is just because I really like the story in this game a lot more the way it is. The story really isn't as in your face, and it isn't as funny, but like when the humor comes through, it really does come through. I don't know, the game just has a little bit more charm to it. And the way the story presents itself fits with the wasteland kind of setting, if you catch my drift. The Walking Dead Season 2. Another Telltale game, not as good as the first one, but it's still very good. Rust is a survival game that I just never got into. I did play this game very early on, but every time I played this game, I've never really had much of a fun time. Electronic Superjoy is a rhythm-based platformer. I think I rated the other one before. Electronic Superjoy is got a really cool soundtrack. The game itself is very, very lean. There's not much to it, but the soundtrack does help you pull through. Dark Souls is a 2. Oh god. I don't think I can be a game reviewer, to be honest. People see that I don't like Dark Souls and they fucking will turn on me in an instant. I just don't like Dark Souls. Bastion, I'm giving a 6. Really like Supergiant games. I like the games that they put out. Bastion just didn't resonate with me as much as the other ones, but it just does have a really good soundtrack. Sonic CD is one of those classic Sonic games, and it's okay. It's not as well designed as the original trilogy, but it isn't as bad as the 3D games. Falcon was an FPS game where you were inside a mech. I didn't like it. Just flat out did not like it. Luftrausers. Interesting kind of game. A bit too bare bones for me. The controls okay, but I didn't really like the game that much. Halo Spartan Assault was a top-down shooter that was a spin-off of Halo. It was okay. Feels exactly like what Halo would feel like if it was a top-down shooter, but there wasn't enough game there, to be honest. Puddle, meh. Warp was a little puzzle co-produced by EA. And once again, nothing special, it wasn't great. DMC, Devil May Cry. Yeah, look, I didn't really like the story in this game. The visuals were good and the gameplay was okay, but the story just kind of brings it down. I don't hate this as much as other people seem to. Gianna Sisters, Twisted Dreams. I gave this a 6. It's a solid enough platformer. There's nothing crazy special about it. Dirt 3. I've only really played the multiplayer in this one. It was just a fun racing game. I really liked the physics of the game. Loadout was a free-to-play multiplayer shooter, and it was not that good. And it was a live service game that died. Long Live the Queen. This game just relies too much on trial and error. I was kind of gelling with the story a bit, but not enough to just play the same bits over and over again. It was just a bit too much. Paranautical Activity. This game has a very spotty past on Steam, where the lead developer at one point gave Newell a death threat over Twitter. I don't think it was serious or anything, but it got it like ripped from the Steam store. What I played of this game when it first came out, it was meh, but like honestly, it was just amateur hour. This game is just full amateur. There was nothing great about it. Just Cause 2, the multiplayer mod. Oh man, this was a lot of fun. Just having Just Cause 2 in a huge sandbox with friends. This was probably the most fun when there were limited betas of the multiplayer mod, and that's when everyone would like come together to play it a lot. When the mod went full release, I think everyone just kind of forgot about it. Space Pirates and Zombies, this is a 1. I just couldn't. This game just did not work for me. I got into the game once and I didn't know what was happening, and it just kind of, no. Cool name though. Orcs Must Die 2. Yeah, there's not much to this one. It's a tower defense game. A Virus Named Tom, another shitty puzzle game that I probably got out of one of those fanatical bundles. It's just feels like one of those shitty flash games. Dead Space is a 7, pretty good horror game. I never finished this one, mostly due to the fact that I got the story spoiled, so I never really felt the need to power through to the end of this one. Symphony. It was a rhythm game that just straight up didn't work, like at all. That's all I have to say. Burnout Paradise was a very good open world / racing game, arcade racing game. You will definitely get sick of hearing Paradise City by the time you've finished with this. Bloody Trapland was a very hard, purposely hard platformer. And honestly, it's fun with friends, not fun by yourself. If you can get the multiplayer to work anyway, it's a lot of fun. Worms Crazy Golf is a fucking golf game with worms in it. Yeah, the Worms franchise. I've talked about it like 5 times already. Nah, fam. It just wasn't good enough. Fear 3. Oh, buddy. This game is arse. This game is very, very arse. I don't know why you would take the horror elements out of Fear when Fear was a horror FPS. So when the developers stated that the game wasn't going to be as scary, it was going to be more action heavy than the other ones, stating that it's hard to get people scared when they're talking to each other over chat or whatever the hell else. citing that as the reason to make it more action heavy. And then you just have games like Outlast Trials or Dead by Daylight, which can do horror, and maybe some of them can't do horror for long. Piss weak entry to a pretty decent franchise at that point. Scribblenauts Unlimited, yeah, look, I'm not good at this game, but it's a fun and neat little idea. The Bard's Tale, I remember something in this game pissing me off to the point that I just quit very early on. I don't remember what, unfortunately, but I do remember being really pissed off after playing it. The Stanley Parable is a game that everyone's probably heard of by now. Basically choose your own adventure. Very, very awesome acting performance from the narrator. The writing is super sharp and witty and funny. I love it. 30 Flights of Loving. This is experimental at best. The game only goes for 5 minutes and it has an incomprehensible story and it's so shit. Chivalry, Medieval Warfare. Chivalry was a really good multiplayer game back in the day. It was a fun game to play. Rocket Birds, Hard Boiled Chicken. I think I got this out of a Humble Bundle. Tried it for 10 minutes and I didn't like it, so I dropped it. Antichamber. This was an okay game. I really liked the mind-bending puzzles, but it seemed like the solution to a lot of the puzzles was very samey, and then eventually I just kind of got lost in the game and I couldn't figure out what to do next, so I kind of left it there. Brutal Legend. I, like most other people who played this game, really liked the first half of the game, and then when it turned into a pseudo real-time strategy game, I kind of left it there. Rayman Legends is a really awesome 2D side-scroller. I really love the art style of this game. Outlast is a game that I kind of dropped very quickly because I don't do well with scary games. This game was a bit too scary for me. Serious Sam 3, Before First Encounter. The game design of this game was outdated by 5 years by the time this game came out. It doesn't justify its existence at all. What Thunder? Yeah, it's okay. It's not my cup of tea. Bleed. Bleed is an action platformer 2D side-scrolly kind of game. It's good for what it is. It's a nice little budget game. I kind of gelled with the story a little bit. Crisis 2, this game sucks. Just taking an open world game and just shoving it into a narrow first-person shooter garbage game. Offspring Fling, just another one of those puzzle games I feel like I got off a Humble Bundle that isn't that great. The Walking Dead Season 1. I'd say this is the best Telltale game. It's so good. The story, it makes up for the really bland gameplay, and there's not really much of a game. It's pretty much just a visual novel, to be honest. Choices don't matter. But honestly, the story between Lee and Clementine is just fantastic, and the game is just so heartbreaking. One of very few games to make me cry. Little Inferno is a game where you just burn shit, and that's it. I like it. I like burning shit. Dirt 2 is another Dirt game. Dirt 2 was slightly better than Dirt 3, I think. It's just a fun racing game. Stuart gets me to buy one of these games every now and then to play with him. Portal 2, absolutely fantastic game. I think everybody has played Portal 2. Awesome story. Awesome Noughts was a 2D side-scrolling MOBA. I feel like the gameplay loop of killing minions to get stronger just didn't quite gel with the 2D side-scrolling element. It was basically just League of Legends flattened onto a piece of paper. They probably just needed to tweak the way the game worked a little bit more. Saints Row the Third. I like Saints Row the Third. I don't really like any of the other Saints Row games. I mean, this one was pretty good. Just Cause 2, probably the best of the Just Cause games. I really like the open world, and I love the sandbox and the physics in this game. I never really got into the story or the single player missions. I mostly just fucked around in this game. Frozen Synapse, the original. Fantastic game. Soundtrack, vibes are all there. Extremely hard game. Dear Esther is one of those walk-around simulator story games. I remember being very underwhelmed by this game's ending. Hell yeah! This was the side-scrolling Metroidvania bunny saw game. If that sounds kind of ridiculous, it was. The gameplay just felt bad and it kind of killed the rest of the game. I liked the style of it, but the gameplay was just so off that I just could not connect to anything else. Call of Duty Black Ops 2, I only really played the multiplayer in this game, and it was Call of Duty. It wasn't as good, or it wasn't the best Call of Duty, it wasn't the worst, but it was very mediocre. Crysis, open world first person shooter, and honestly, this game was just a benchmark. I don't think anyone actually played this game. I played a bit of it. I think it's okay. By the time my PC could actually run this game, the gameplay itself was kind of dated. I like the idea of it though. Thomas was alone. This is an absolutely fantastic narrative game. And I can't believe I feel so emotionally attached to a fucking rectangle. Fez was a really gorgeous little indie game back in the day that came out around about the same time as Super Meat Boy. I like the idea of this game more than I like the game itself. I really don't go much on the game. And if you've ever watched the documentary Indie Game, the movie, the story behind it is really nice, but it's everything that happened after the game came out and the cancellation of the sequel and me not just generally liking the game in general that's bringing this one down. Poker Night 2. So Poker Night at the Inventory 2. It's just a solid kind of Texas Hold'em poker game. You can get items for certain games. I wish more games would do weird crossover shit like this, because that was kind of fun. Age of Empires 3, I'm very lukewarm on it. I play a game every now and then with friends if they invite me. I don't really like I said before, I don't really like real-time strategy games, but if I play with friends, I tend to like them just a little bit more. Limbo, absolutely fantastic platformer. It's a very dark and very grim game, and it has a very grim ending. But the absolute style oozes from this game. DLC Quest is a fun little gimmick kind of puzzle game, and then it kind of ruined its own gimmick and the things it was saying about DLC by having its own DLC. That might be a bit confusing, but yeah. Bit Trip Runner, an endless runner rhythm game, I think it was. I think I played number 2 as well. I don't know why I thought I would like these games. Super Hexagon. This was a free-to-play or was very cheap on Steam. I just straight up do not like this game. Cube Men. This game is shit, but it's fun shit. Even though I've given it a 3, I recommend giving it a go with friends. It's stupid and dumb, and I kind of like it. By the way, boys, I'm up for a Cube Men rematch if you guys are, you know who you are. Time for Cuck, or Time Fuck, or whatever you want it. I really like the gimmick to this puzzle game. I just kind of don't like the rest of it. Rush was one of those weird little cube games. You move around in your cube. It was fun. I liked it. It looked really nice. I liked the art style, even though it's just cubes and platforms. No Time to Explain. No Time to Explain was a platformer for the PC, and it was the game that launched Tiny Build Games' kind of publishing career. The humor really gets fun in this game, but the game itself is really jank and barely works most of the time. Red Faction Armageddon gets a 3. I only played the multiplayer in this game, and I didn't really like that. You'd think a Red Faction game would try and implement its destruction physics into a multiplayer. It did not. Shank 2 is a platformer. The Shank games are pretty well known back in the day for being solid platformers. I don't agree with that. I think they're okay. Dungeon Defenders. I do not like this game. It is grindy as hell and nah. Dead Island. I don't know how, but Dead Island managed to trick me into liking this game for a while. I don't know how, but I really do not like this game. I did finish it though. McPixel is a point-and-click kind of puzzle game. I don't remember much from this one. I just remember it being pretty funny. Metro 2033, great FPS, but I kind of dropped it because I wasn't feeling it really. I really love the world of this game. Worms Blast is an enigma of a game. I've got to explain this one because it's just so bizarre. The Worms franchise every now and then just decides to make an absolutely random spin-off. Like, you are one of the worms, and you are in a boat, and you've got to you just got to shoot your rocket at these weird fucking things to try and kill the person on the other side. It's bizarre. It is just the most bizarre fucking thing I've ever seen. And I played this with my friend back in the PlayStation era as well, I think. We kind of liked it, kind of back then, but now it is I played it within the last year or so, and it is just bad. This is straight bad. This is an enigma of a game. What? It's such a random spin-off. Just do not play this. Ignite is an arcade racer that didn't really stand out as doing anything cool to me. and we will leave it at that. Poker Night at the inventory, similar to Poker Night 2, you played games of poker to win items for different games. Like I said before, I wish games did this more often. It's kind of cool. The writing in the game was kind of decent. Trackmania United Forever, this game gets 7. Trackmania is very fun. I'm not good at it, but I still like it. The thing that happened with this game that may put it in the dropped category, even though I have the game on Steam, there is a secondary login, a third-party login for Nadeo or whatever, that I forgot and I could never get it back, so I've lost all my progress and I lost my premium edition of the game. Big bummer. Plants vs Zombies, everyone's played this game. It's okay. I don't understand the appeal, really. It's just an okay game. Torchlight, do not like. I hate the voice acting in this game. I just couldn't get into it. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, absolute disappointing follow-up to the awesome Modern Warfare 2, which is one of, but not my favourite Call of Duty. The game just feels like it was shut out. And when you look at like the big improvement from Modern Warfare 1 to Modern Warfare 2, and Modern Warfare 3 just kind of goes backwards in quality, it's very disappointing. Super Crate Box, one of those other either free or very cheap games on Steam back in the day, and it just wasn't good. Fallout New Vegas, this one gets a 3, but I feel bad about it because I know a lot of people really like this game. And this is probably the Fallout I've tried many times to play this game, and I've tried to like it, I just can't. And it bums me out because I know there is a good game in here. Left 4 Dead. We talked about Left 4 Dead 2 a while ago. Left 4 Dead 1 is Left 4 Dead 2, but slightly worse. I wouldn't say worse, I'd say they're both on par with the same quality, and that's because they're basically the same game. It just has less features overall. Super Monday Night Combat. It has a 1. This was meant to be a competitor to Team Fortress 2 back in the day, and it was not good. It had a little bit of a population for a while, but it just kind of faded into obscurity, and I bet that everyone who's watching this video forgot that it existed until I brought it up just then. Blur, oh, Blur. Blur is a fantastic arcade racer. It's basically Mario Kart just slapped onto like a Need for Speed, basically. Like, I really love the vibes, and I just really like this game in general. It is a fantastic game. The big problem is that it never really took off and kind of died. I would have loved to have seen like a really cool, like a big multiplayer scene for this game. Risk Factions. If you've ever played the board game Risk, then it's just that, but video game version. Risk is another one of those games that I swear to God never gets finished. Like, does anyone ever finish a game of Risk? I mean, I played Risk with some family back in the day. It was Lord of the Rings Risk, actually. And I always liked playing the Orcs faction just so I could have the Nazguls, because they were cool. The little figurines for them are really, really cool. I wonder where that board game is now. Sanctum, I think I talked about Sanctum 2 earlier. It's just the same. Tower defense, but you can also go out and shoot the enemies yourself. But shooting never really feels worth it, to be honest. Oddworld, Abe's Exodus. A lot of people don't like this game. It feels like Abe's Odyssey 1.5 or just 0.5. It was, if this game was released today, it'd be like a $10 DLC. Honestly, quality of life improvements over Abe's Odyssey though. Elder Scrolls Morrowind, this is 1, and don't hate me, but I played this game way too late. It's way too jank. Well, even when I played it, which was probably like 2010 maybe, the game just felt really outdated. I was kind of talked into playing this because a friend of mine at high school just would not shut up about it. I was like, oh, it has to be good. No, it was not. Grand Theft Auto 4 Complete Edition. This is a 9. The game, for its time, was fantastic. And I think it would still hold up today for the most part. The Lost and Damned DLC part of GTA 4 is not that good. Comparative to the main game and Ballad of Gay Tony. The Lost and Damned is just feels like it's doing Sons of Anarchy. Actually, I wonder which one of those came first. It's kind of funny because like a lot of the story beats for Lost and Damned are pretty much reused for Red Dead Redemption 2. Like the whole gang kind of thing and like the gang kind of spiraling into disrepair and like falling apart kind of thing. Almost beat for beat, Red Dead 2. And I really liked Red Dead 2 and the story in Red Dead 2, but like they kind of dropped the ball doing it in this one. But still, the overall package, 9 out of 10. Call of Cthulhu is a Bethesda puzzle game, and it's shithouse. Hunted, The Demon's Forge, one of those weird budget third-person kind of action games that came out during this era. There were a fuck ton of them. This was just one of the ones that I ended up playing. So it's not that good. Quake 3 Arena is one of the OG party FPS LAN games. Everyone at my school had this on a USB, and we just like fucking load it up and play it during lunch break or whatever else, and had just an absolute buttload of fun with it. Rogue Warrior is another one of those weird early Bethesda games that I'm sure everyone got in those like Bethesda packs or whatever the hell they had on Steam back in the day. This one never ended up working for me. I tried to play some of it and the game just didn't run properly, and therefore I really couldn't play it. Brink. Brink. I have a lot to say about this one, but we'll try and keep it brief. There will be one game in your life that will convince you to never pre-order games again, and Brink is that game for me. Brink is the first game that ever really, truly disappointed me. Absolute gut punch of disappointment. It's probably why I'm such a jaded human being now. Part of the reason anyway. Half-Life 2 Episode 1. Well, before there were DLCs, there were standalone expansions for games. Half-Life 2 Episode 1, it's okay. The Half-Life episodes kind of just actually gave some more story after Half-Life 2, but they were never really that fantastic. Half-Life 2 Episode 2 is more or less the same. There's a lot of story stuff in there, but the gameplay itself kind of isn't as good. In Episode 2 though, I did kind of like the civilian recruitment thing, and you can have a little squad of people following you that could heal you and shoot as well. That was kind of okay, but it wasn't as tightly designed as Half-Life 2. Lost Coast. Half-Life 2 was a tech demo, I think, but it was released as... I don't know if it was released for free. It was a fine enough tech demo, but it was just kind of showing off weird shit. Half-Life Blue Shift was an expansion to the first Half-Life game. Like many of these expansions, not that great, but it was okayly designed. Spiral Knights was a weird little action MMO, ARPG MMO thing. I really wanted to get into this, but I just couldn't. It was a bit too shit. Grand Theft Auto Online. This currently has a 6, and this is based on the last time I played it, not if I had played it recently. There's been a lot of quality of life improvements since I last played, but there's also been that whole GTA Plus scandal or controversy, which I think would probably bring it down, if I'm being honest. Honestly, the best thing to do in GTA Online is just fuck around with friends. It is a good, just kind of hangout game.
Oh, what the fuck?
There's no way. Tetris Effect Connected. And this one gets a 9. And how is it a 9? Well, Tetris is a fucking 40-year-old game now. How do you make it fresh? Well, you make it a psychedelic experience. And that's how you do it. Tetris Effect Connected just hits all the right buttons for me. I would absolutely love to try this game in VR one day. The thing that doesn't make it a 10 quite, despite the fact that I really, really love this game, is just kind of it's not hard enough at the moment. I've completed all the difficulties in the game, and I kind of want a harder one. I want to go harder. I want to go faster. I kind of wish there was just a little bit more variety, just a little bit in the middle part of the game. Forza Horizon 4, which is the most recent Forza Horizon, I think. Solid open world racing. I said solid again. Absolutely fantastic open world racing game. I wish the multiplayer was better in this game. The AI difficulty is just kind of all over the show. They're either way too hard or way too easy, and there's never an in-between. And especially when playing with friends, and there's weird little things where AI will get different classed cars to you, usually under, and it's just an absolute stomp, and it doesn't feel good to race. And also the multiplayer racing is just a little bit underbaked, I feel like. It just feels a bit jank. That being said, everything else about this game I really love. Going Under, I have this as want to play more, but I think I've played enough now. Yeah, Going Under is a neat little roguelike where you fight your way through dungeons using improvised weaponry from office supplies and kind of stuff. That's a lot of fun. And the humor in the game is pretty decent. Grounded. If you have not played Grounded, this is a fantastic game from start to finish. Look, it just does Honey, I Shrank the Kids, turns it into a survival base building kind of game, and a really good story and fantastic gameplay that just kind of keeps you going throughout the entire thing. So it can be a little bit frustrating at times, but honestly, this is the best like survival game, especially to play with friends. Like, it is the best one I've ever played. The Ascent, top-down action shooter in kind of cyberpunky. I really want to play more of this. What I've played is good, but it was really buggy playing it with a friend. I really want to give this one another go sometime soon to see if they fixed it up. Dungeons and Dragons, Dark Alliance. Now, I'm usually hesitant to give games ones, but this game pissed me off. This game really pissed me off. I played this one with a few friends. We played it on Game Pass. Thank fuck we didn't buy it. And we knew it was a bad game while we were playing it, but we were kind of having fun with it, and that was all good. And then the game decided to wipe my progress. And then I kind of spat the dummy. I just kind of fucking lost my shit. I was so defeated. I'd given this game every chance to be just playable, and it just fucking gutted me, man. Deleting my progress and making it so like I had to start the game from the beginning, and I was done by that point. Descenders is a really fun game. Actually, I feel like I'm gonna bump this one up to a 7. I kind of wish there was a bit more content in this game. I feel like that owes to the fact that I played the Game Pass version of this game and not the Steam version. The Steam version has Workshop enabled. This is a downhill biking game, a very steep downhill biking game, and me and my friends, we've had a lot of fun with this one. For the King is a turn-based strategy game, and it's pretty charming. It's also a roguelike. Honestly, I really like this game. I hope the sequel to this game is a lot better. I wish there was kind of more of a meta game to it, you know, apart from just unlocking things. A Way Out, I haven't changed this one as well. We dropped this one, and I'll let you know why later. For now, A Way Out is just kind of okay. The co-op multiplayer angle of the game is really cool, and then it just kind of does nothing with it. And it puts it into a really bad plot with really bad acting. And I reckon there's some joy that could be taken out of that, but I honestly, Scrublock and I made the choice to stop playing this one halfway through. The reason we did that is because we played It Takes Two, made by the same developers, and this game takes everything that A Way Out was and just does it so much better and puts it into a puzzle game that utilizes that co-op aspect so much better. The story as well in this game is just fan-fucking-tastic. I know Scrublock and I bicker like a married couple sometimes, and we sorted all of our relationship problems in this game. I'm kidding, of course, but honestly, this game from start to finish, absolutely fantastic. It got a bit awkward at the very end, but we got through it, and we had an absolute fucking blast. Battlefield 3. Battlefield 3 launched in a bit of a state. Not as much as the next one. Was the first game I played on my new PC. It was the reason I upgraded my PC back in the day. Before then, I had probably onboard graphics or some absolute garbage graphics card, and this game was going to kill my computer if I played it on it, so I bought a new PC for it, and I got my fun out of it. I'm glad I did end up getting a better PC for it, because this game, at the time, was absolutely gorgeous. Battlefield 4. This game, on the other hand, was still gorgeous. I have a story with this one. Killer and I, or Stuart and I, we went to the midnight launch of this game, and he was staying over at my house when we got it. So we went to the midnight launch, got the game, went back to our house and played it, and the state this fucking game was in was just bad. We played the multiplayer for a couple of hours. I crashed maybe 4 times before I said, fuck it, I'm done. And then Stuart was like, well, if you're not playing, I'm gonna play the single player. And the single player was even like in a worse state than the multiplayer was. And I just like kind of watched him for a bit playing it. I was like, oh my god, this is terrible. I think I just fell asleep watching him play the single player of the game. Crysis 3 got a 6. I liked a lot that Crysis 3 had to do in the multiplayer, and actually the single player as well. The soundtrack though, the menu music to this game, like the main theme, oh, goes hard. The game itself isn't that great, and I wish the multiplayer didn't die as hard as it did. The Hunter game mode was so cool. Battlefield 5, I only played the multiplayer of that one. I think there was a single player or a co-op. I might have tried that actually. I'm getting weird flashbacks right now. Anyway, stock standard Battlefield. I don't like it as much as the other, like, more modern Battlefields. Far Cry 3. Oh man, this brings me back. Far Cry 3 is fantastic. It would almost be a perfect game if it wasn't for that third act in the game, which is just an absolute bummer. As soon as Vars exits the game, it becomes worse in every way. And that is an absolute credit to Michael Mando, who is the voice actor, and he even played a live-action version of the character in a mini-series, which was really cool. If nobody's seen that, it's really cool. Absolutely fantastic actor. I'm so glad he was able to get like an actual acting job on Better Call Saul, where he's like the best character or one of the best characters in the show. And a wide audience can actually see that he's a good actor, apart from just the people who played this game and would probably discount his performance or based on the fact that it's in a game. Far Cry 4 doesn't make that mistake though. They keep the charismatic villain all the way through this game. They actually give good writing to the villain. Like, Vars is obviously a fucking psychopath, but was drug fucked out of his mind and etc, whatever happens in that game. I can't remember. But Pagan Min is an absolutely fantastic character. There's so much I love about Far Cry 4. This is the Far Cry hour now. So Far Cry 4 keeps Pagan Min all the way through, and that is probably just learning from the game beforehand that, you know, killing off your charismatic villain not at the end of the game is a bad idea. You don't even have to kill Pagan Min in this game. You can let him live, and he tells you and justifies the story to you about what happens, and it's actually just really not, like, it's just really good. And Pagan Min's obviously an evil guy, but is he the most evil of all the people in the country? Because the other two rebel fighters, who you can pick a side on earlier on, are also shitheads, and it kind of feels like Pagan Min might actually be the lesser of two evils. Anyway, story-wise, I fucking love this game. Gameplay-wise, not so much. It is not enough of an improvement over Far Cry 3, and the setting just isn't as interesting, and that's why it's docked 1 point. Roller Coaster Tycoon, the original. Before, when I mentioned Classic, that was a Classic pack that included the 2 games. So Roller Coaster Tycoon, the classic one, is a 6. It is fantastic, but it's just not quite there. But Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 is here to save the day. The best park simulation game. Absolutely dope. And the fact that it is over 20 years old and still the best absolutely speaks volumes to its quality. Mass Effect 3, this one hurts a bit to talk about. I kind of like this game, but the ending is obviously rubbish. I never got to it because it got spoiled, and it got spoiled because of how bad it was. It set the fucking internet on fire for like a week. Rest in peace, Marauder Shields. Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, I don't know why Mass Effect was in between these ones, but whatever. Is a 4. This was the first, you know, quote-unquote 3D Roller Coaster Tycoon. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. The charm of the classic Roller Coaster Tycoons just aren't there. It's a bit more sanitized, and I think that's because they had to like make the worlds more detailed. They couldn't have you drowning your park guests or having them die. Roller coaster accidents, unlike the other ones. Next up, we have The Sims. I gave this a 6. The Sims is great. I don't think there's anything else to say about The Sims that hasn't been said before. Everyone's played The Sims. The Sims 2 is even better. I'd argue it's probably the best one. There were a lot of hours spent not playing this game, but watching other people play it. And by that, I mean my auntie. We'd play together pretty much, but she'd mostly be the one playing it, and I'd be the one kind of like, you know, watching her do the things. It was a lot of fun. Moving on to The Sims 3, I don't like The Sims 3 that much. I feel like there's too much in the game, whereas Sims 2 I feel like finds the right balance between features and gameplay. I feel like The Sims 3 just kind of overdoes it for the sake of trying to be the best. World of Warcraft is a 3. I have tried to play this one multiple times, and every time I feel like I'm just getting into it, there's like a feature or something that just fucks me. So I tried to play this all the way back in the day in like 2008, 9. Before Lich King came out, I tried to play this game for the first time, and I was kind of liking it, but I just kind of got lost. I mostly just got lost in how to play the game. The second time I tried it was when Mists of Pandaria came out. I was able to boost a character to fucking the top level. So I boosted the character I played from the first time to max level, and it was a rogue, and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing again. And so I got lost, and I quit. The third time I tried to play World of Warcraft, I played a Death Knight, and this was probably the best time I played it. I played, a Death Knight from the start, or from level 55 where you start your Death Knight, and that was alright. I felt like I was getting a grip on the game properly this time around, but honestly the grind just killed it for me, and like, the game's community is super toxic. The grind felt way too grind. I just kind of felt like maybe I needed a bit more action going on. The game just feels a bit too boring combat-wise. It's not really my cup of tea. Wolfenstein 2009, this is just a bad FPS. It's just a really bad FPS. Bioshock Infinite is also a 3. I really wanted to like this game. The opening to this game is really good. For the first 30 minutes, I was really on board. The story was gripping me. But as soon as it started getting into the first-person shooter encounters, the gameplay just kind of felt very, very off. Dragon Ball Kakarot. Yeah. The story mode in this game is arse. The fighting in this game is not that good. It's very unintuitive. It's probably one of the worst Dragon Ball games I've played, and it sucks because it looked like it was going to be fun. Need for Speed High Stakes is a very old Need for Speed game that used to be on the PC. It was probably 2002, I want to say. It was a fun arcade racer, and you could play as the cops in the game, trying to catch races. It was one of the first ones that did that, I think. I was really bad at it as a kid, so mostly I just used it to drive around. I didn't get that much out of it apart from the driving and customizing my car. Solar Ash is a 9. This one's a kind of an action-y adventure game. I really resonated with the story in this one, and I just really like the game. It's another game made by the people who did Hyper Light Drifter. The game is just kind of like an open-worldy puzzle action adventure hybrid. The story is really fantastic. I really love the story, and the art style in this game is just really, really good. I definitely recommend trying this one if you get the chance. The Ruined King, a League of Legends story. I love the combat mechanics in the turn-based strategy for this one. It's very unique. The 3-lane system, a really neat nod to League of Legends. The gameplay is solid, the art style is very good. The story kind of darts around a bit too much and is a bit slow to get going, unfortunately, but honestly, pretty decent. Alright, I had to look up this game because I wasn't 100% sure if it was the game I was thinking of, and it was. Super People was like a really kind of meh battle royale. I don't know what happened to this game, but now there is a Super People 2 on Steam, but you can't get it. I think these games are dead. I don't know how there is a second one. Like, what happened here? I absolutely just don't know what happened. Anyway, it wasn't that great. But apparently a lot of other people thought the same thing and supposedly went through 2 titles and then disappeared from the world forever. Interesting. Omega Strikers is kind of a MOBA / hybrid sports, like Rocket League meets League of Legends is how I've just been describing it. A lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. Wreckfest is a kind of like a racing game with, I wouldn't say hyper-realistic destruction. Car destruction is a big thing in this game, and it feels really fun, and it's a good multiplayer game.
Every single corner, they just don't break. They just go straight at my ass. This Tyrone dude, he's
because you're at the back,
menace.
dude.
Yeah.
This Tyrone man is a
fucking shit.
Oh yeah, we know about
menace.
Tyrone.
Yeah, we know all about Tyrone.
This cunt is like, you watch this, ready? See? I'm wrecked. Are you fucking...
Redfall gets a 1. Do I really need to say anything about this one? Redfall is an absolute... I don't know how a game releases like this, especially AAA game in the year 2023, and why this was so widely marketed as well is absolutely astonishing to me. It feels like a scam. I just don't understand how this happened. Necess is a survival game, and it's okay. I wouldn't say it's very bare bones, but it is lacking. That being said, I've had my fun with it. The Outlast Trials is a horror multiplayer game and it is absolutely fantastic. We only just recently finished this one, but we got a lot of fun out of this. The thing I really like about this game is it stops being scary pretty much after the first time you've completed each different mission. But then after that, it still got a lot left in the game, like a lot of systems in the game to keep you interested. And to have just a fun game in general, like at the core of it, even if the horror elements have kind of like faded away a bit, I still got like jump scared by a couple of things here and there that were like even late in the game. Returnal, I have not quite finished yet, but this game is fucking fantastic. This is probably one of the best roguelikes I've ever played. And it makes sense that it was a PS5 launch title. This game is gorgeous. It does roguelikes just as good, if not better than any other roguelike out there. Synthetic is a really cool roguelike, a top-down shooter that requires a lot of memory. It plays very mechanically. This game's a lot of fun. Starship Troopers Extermination, I have reviewed this one properly. I still think it is probably going to die soon. The players have definitely dropped off in the few weeks since it's come out, and I'm very worried about this one now. Need for Speed Unbound, I've only played the multiplayer in this game, and the racing itself feels good. The open world is very lacking. Not having cops in races is like, come on. Like I said, it's a 6, but it could be so much better if the effort was ever put in there.
GTA is ridiculous.
It's a truck and it flew and I went under the truck.
Oh my god!
Thanks for all the places, boys. I don't know what the fuck that was. Trine is a 5. I wasn't too stoked about it. Like, it does some kind of cool things, but it isn't really anything special. Cult of the Lamb is a roguelite, yeah, with a cult sim as the kind of meta game outside the roguelike elements. I love this game. The vibes of this game are on point. The music, the humor, the very dark nature of it, it definitely strikes a chord with me. Core Keeper, they're another one of those early access survival games. This one is really nice. I really dig the art style of this game, and the progression of this game feels really good. I do hope that they keep working on it as they go, and not just throwing shit in for the sake of throwing shit in. Completed what there is to do for now, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it in the future. Hogwarts Legacy is a game that everyone I talk to has exactly the same experience. They played it, they liked it, and at some point they just stopped playing it, even though they liked it, and just couldn't really come back to it. I'm one of these people as well. This game is really hard to just come back to. There's so many systems, so many things to do. I feel overwhelmed. That being said, I did like it though, and really bad performance issues that really kind of killed it for me though. Call of Duty Warzone 2, follow up to Warzone 1, which I don't think I've got on here, but they're basically the same game. Warzone is just a solid battle royale through and through. I'm very trash at it though, and I've barely won any games, but it is a fun game. There's just maybe a few too many cheaters and a few too many sweaty people in there. Marvel's Midnight Suns, this game is pretty much just XCOM but Marvel Edition with some card-based strategy in there. I really liked this game. A lot of people said that they don't like the writing, especially Skill Up I think said he didn't like the writing in the game, but I kind of liked it. I really liked most of the stuff to do with this game. I kind of wished it looked a little bit better, though. Judgment is a Yakuza spin-off game. I kind of want to come back to this game a bit later. It's another brawler type game, and I'm really digging the story in this one. Soul Hackers 2, this game was a bit of a disappointment. Turn-based strategy, akin to Persona or whatever. It's just kind of weird to me that they just kind of released a ho-hum turn-based strategy game after releasing like the absolute really awesome game that was Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. This game just isn't quite there. Pac-Man World Repack is a remake of the original Pac-Man World. It's a good game. It's a decent remake of a good game. Spider-Man 2018 is an action game. Everyone's played Spider-Man, or if they haven't played Spider-Man, they know how good it is. I was so skeptical when I heard about all the praise for this game, and then I played it for myself, and I was like, oh my god. The thing that stops this from being a 10 is obviously the Mary Jane segments are really really boring and tedious. But the story, gameplay, everything else, this game just does right. Divinity Original Sin 2 also does almost everything right. This game isn't newcomer friendly. I kind of wish there was a little bit more to just try and help people to get through that first hurdle of learning the game. I had once tried to play this game by myself and it failed miserably. I just couldn't figure it out. And then I played it again with Scrub-like, and together we were able to figure things out a lot better. From there on, the experience was fantastic. Soundfall is a rhythm action game. It's not bad. Like most rhythm games, it includes ways to import your own music, and it'll generate a world based around your music to play on. This part of the game is kind of just not that great, and the beat detection isn't very fantastic in the game, but honestly, solid action. Lost Ark was an ARPG MMO. I think everybody played this game when it came out. I was really ho-hum about it until there was like a fucking Battle for Gondor set piece in there, and then I was like, holy shit. And then I was just kind of all in from there. Then the end game happened, and it turned into a grind fest. A pay-to-win grind fest, mind you. From that point, it was just kind of, I couldn't stomach it anymore. There was too much RNG, too much pay-to-win, and then there was no oceanic servers, and they disabled like VPN and like tunneling services, so we couldn't get our ping as low as possible to make the game playable, and it just kind of died from there for us. Or for me especially. Teamfight Tactics, TFT, is an auto chess game, the only one I've played. They've given it a 7, but honestly the score really just depends on the set or half set. Well, actually they've stopped doing half sets now. Some are better than a 7, some are worse. But honestly, this game is just a good game to just chill out and watch TV in the background or do whatever to. Lego Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga. This game is just Lego Star Wars, but like all of them. I didn't play a lot of this one, but from what I played, it was pretty much like most of the other Lego Star Wars. It's a lot of fun. Very fun combat, but also it's attached to Star Wars, which is can be good or bad, depending on your taste of Star Wars. Space Alliance from the Far Out is basically Overcooked in space, and for some reason this game requires you to connect to servers. The servers for Oceanic felt laggy. I don't know why this game isn't just peer-to-peer party mode. On top of the game just being really hard in general and almost unplayable for us. Generation Zero is a survival game where you're in a post-apocalypse and there's mechs roaming around. Fucking awesome premise, but the game itself is just really, really boring. There just isn't enough going on. And the mechs never really feel like that much of a threat, which is really disappointing. Forza Horizon 5, another entry in the Horizon franchise. This one, much like Horizon 4, suffers from the same shortcomings, that being the multiplayer isn't fully realized still. There are some cooler multiplayer modes though, but like still the racing just still kind of feels really off, especially in multiplayer. But the open world is fantastic, and there's a lot to do and a lot of fun to be had. Warhammer Darktide, this is kind of like an action RPG-ish kind of game. I really loved the setting of this one, but the gameplay is just really, really dull, and the game ran like arse and was very crash heavy. 12 Minutes was a little kind of gimmicky puzzle game. It just suffers from a lot of trial and error. I really didn't like the acting performances in this game, which was something the game was kind of sold on. World War Z is a third-person shooter, and kind of just... It's actually probably more World War Z than the movie was, but there's a lot of Horde-style zombies in this game. And to be perfectly honest, it's okay. It's just wave-based defense with zombies. Bleeding Edge, which was like an action multiplayer game. I did not like this game that much. It was like kind of okay, but you could feel that like it wasn't going to last long, and it didn't. Super Hot, and by extension Super Hot VR, this one's a 7. The gimmick is really fun, and the games themselves are pretty short, but the tight experience. Felix the Reaper is a puzzle game, and it's got a really nice little... It's kind of... I like the uniqueness of Felix the Reaper. I really didn't get much into the story, but I love the art style, and I kind of like the puzzles. Gears of War 4, look, I love the Gears of War franchise, but Gears of War 4 really didn't need to exist, and by extension Gears of War 5, or Gears 5. These games don't need to exist. There was a good trilogy here, and they fucked it. They fucked it, bro. Zombie Apocalypse was a twin-stick shooter. Actually, this game was on the Xbox Live Arcade. I've got it as PC, but whatever. It was just a neat little top-down zombie shooter. I loved the little, like, the map hazards where you could, like, shoot zombies into, like, grinders and shit, and it was a lot of fun. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is Borderlands, but medieval, and I think a lot of people remember the Tiny Tina's DLC from Borderlands 2, and that's pretty much what this is, except it's a full game. Look, I really like this game, but it feels a bit content dry compared to most other Borderlands games. And that's because this game was made in COVID. At the end of the game, they tell you that this game was made in COVID and that, you know, that the team struggled to put it together or whatever the fuck. But they still charge full price for it. They should have probably charged it more as a budget title. So fucked it on the DLCs too. N+, another Xbox Live Arcade game that I put down as PC for some reason. N+ is that ninja game. I think this is the best version of the game. I really love the soundtrack of this one. I love the style. I liked the co-op in this game. It's all pretty much as good as N gets. We also have regular N, which was on the PC, which was a Flash game that you actually had to download on your PC because it wouldn't run through a browser properly. This was the OG. It's a lot of fun, but probably not even playable anymore now that I think about it. Enter the Gungeon is a really fun roguelike top-down shooter. I really want to play more of this game when I get the chance. It's fairly solid and I love the art style, pretty much everything it does. Battlefield 2042. Look, I tried to play. When I saw the beta for this game, I played the beta and it was a glitchy, absolute fucking shit show. And I knew that the full game was going to be bad. And a lot of people were like, it's a beta, the game build is a couple of months old, it'll be fixed, and then it wasn't fixed. This game has absolutely killed my faith in the Battlefield franchise. I don't think I'll be playing any more Battlefield games again, and that's just it. It's kind of wild to me that like after this many Battlefield games that the developers can be just so out of touch with what the community wants from these games. Mutant Year Zero is another turn-based strategy in the lines of kind of XCOM. I couldn't get into this one. I know it's a bit of a budget title, and I kind of like the story to this one, but I just could not get into the gameplay of it. We have the Saints Row reboot. I can't believe I got suckered into buying this one. My judgment in games has waned a little bit, I think. I really wanted to like this one, but honestly, it fails so hard as just not even like an open world game. Open world sandbox game, but as just everywhere. It fails. It's just really mediocre, which is sad because I really think this one could have worked. Far Cry 6, all the modern Far Cries are more or less the same. It just depends on what the story is and who the main villain is. I skipped Far Cry 5, mostly because I really didn't care about the villain. The villain is kind of like what sells these games. So I was kind of willing to try this game based on the villain, for obvious reasons, as I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan and Better Call Saul fan. Giancarlo is just doing Gustavo Fring, but with really bad writing. The game itself was really buggy, but I was honestly having a lot of fun with it. I really just couldn't carry myself to the end on this one, and I gave up. Honkai Star Rail is a turn-based strategy game, and I'm sure everyone's heard of this one by now because it took the world by storm a few months ago. I gave this one a 6. It's good. I love the characters, I love the music, I love the art style, I like the game. Gacha mechanics. Fucking gacha mechanics. It just makes this game feel like it isn't real. I just don't feel like I'm playing a real video game. And this goes the same with Genshin Impact. It's open world, kind of Zelda-y, Breath of the Wild kind of vibes, but it's also a gacha game. I like the characters, I like the art style, I like everything about this game except for the gacha mechanics that really feel like they slow you to a halt and then make you grind or pay. It's just, I hate it. I hate what it does to gaming. There are solid games here, but they just... Alright, that brings us to the end of PC. We've got Nintendo DS now, and this is going to be short. We're close to the end. First up, we have Mario Kart DS. This game is awesome. Probably my favourite Mario. I dig it. I dig this game. Next up we have Worms Open Warfare. This game doesn't really do anything different compared to other Worms games, and that usually means that it's a solid game in general because the added mechanics usually either make them a lot worse. Crash Boom Bang is a party game on the DS featuring Crash Bandicoot, and it is the worst Crash Bandicoot game of all time, and it isn't even close, which is saying something because I really hate those fucking mutant Crash games. This one Absolute travesty. A remake of Mario 64, but it was on the DS and it added extra characters. Like, I don't think in the original game you play as Yoshi. Absolutely really fun. Next up we have Pokemon Heart Gold. This is the only Pokemon on the list. I think this is the only one I really remember playing. Heart Gold gets a 5. I don't understand Pokemon and why people like it so much. Maybe my heart is long, cold, and dead by the time I played this game. Bomberman DS, a very solid Bomberman game on the DS. And I said very solid again, I know. I'm tired. We're almost at the end of this fucking bullshit. When I bought this game, it had a save file on it that had like almost the entire game finished, and I played mostly on that because it had all the stuff unlocked for everything, like all the stages and characters. I had a lot of fun. Next up we have Nintendogs. Nintendogs is... Nintendo. Everyone knows what Nintendogs is. I never actually had this game myself. I borrowed this game off a couple of people sometimes for my DS and then had to give it back begrudgingly. If I had the game myself, I'd probably feel really bad about the puppies and dogs that I left behind. It'd probably be enough to bring me back to it, but I don't have it, so we're just gonna keep moving on. Next up we have Pac-Man 2.5. Oh, we're on mobile/PC, which are games that I played on both mobile and PC. There's only 2 of these, and we're done. So we have Pac-Man 256, which is like an endless runner Pac-Man game. It's kind of addicting, but it's really soulless. It just feels extremely soulless. And last up we have Anodyne, which is a game I barely remember, but I have tried to play it multiple times and gotten nowhere. I don't like this game, and that is a bit of a bummer because we are now done with my list. Now I'm pretty sure I must have missed a few games here and there, because I don't think there's any way to possibly go back through the rest of my mind and find all the games I played and all the games I missed, but that's all I've got. So before I lose my voice, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, listening. I know this was a bit of a random 11th anniversary special. Thought of the anniversary a bit too late, and this was just all I could think of doing. Thank you so much for watching. More content is coming soon as my vocal cords recover. And we'll see you in the next one.